Someone's breathing into the mic.
Who's breathing heavy? It's already started. I've not even started it. We're live already. I've not even pressed the intro, and I'm going to start it. We've got heavy breathing. Must be because all four of us are here. Let's go. What are we waiting for? So there you go. We've already cocked it up before we even started. We went live with people heavy breathing in the background. So that's a good start, isn't it? We're here, all of us, all four. The awesome foursome are back. Is that the right way of putting it, boys?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me as well, but I don't know that intro with the heavy breathing, I think probably scared everybody away, to be perfectly honest.
You need to cut
it. It's too late for that. It's a live show, man.
No, for the podcast, we need to cut that.
Yeah, for the podcast, we'll have to, I think. How are we doing, guys? Everything all right? First of all, so what we've got, all four of us are on just for the podcasters. We've got Hibbo here at Hibbo FPL. We've got myself at FPL Mariner, FPL Lens, and FPL Nima. So we are the global finalists of the Football Content Awards, where this John Terry in the corner there went and celebrated with everybody else. But little old Net That Hall, we did all right, didn't we? We did all right. It's the first time we've been together for such a long time. So I hope everybody just doesn't mind. We have a couple of minutes, just chit-chat before we get going.
I think it needs to be acknowledged how excited we are, and it's going to be a little bit of an awkward intro where we really want to speak, but we don't want to speak over each other. So we'll break the ice a little bit. And
bollocks, just go for it. I don't care.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
Nima, tell us about the Content Awards for 2 seconds. So, was it any good?
So thanks everyone who voted. Obviously, we wouldn't have made it without your support. It's our first full season after starting halfway through last season. So incredible to be there with kind of the heavy veterans of the industry. So obviously Black Box won, and I think it was Andy came second. Let's Talk FPL, and I believe it was FPL Tips who came third. So really great company. We didn't come into the podium this time, but next year, guys, it's the Haulers year. Next year, that's it. We're going to get that top 3.
I love the comment from our polyamorous friend Bungle. Love a good foursome on a Saturday morning. Hello, lads.
Rated 18 plus.
Just like that. Just with one comment.
That's it. Suitable for adverts.
We're banned on iTunes in India.
The trouble is, boys, he's one of our bloody moderators. He's just made us 18 plus.
Does that mean I can smoke a cigarette?
No, it doesn't. Doesn't allow you to at all. Right. Anyway, what we're going to do today? Let's talk a bit about that. So, it's the international break. I think hopefully everybody's enjoying it. I think even we've been a little bit quiet on our chat group for the last few days. I think we've all enjoyed a few days off. I hope you all have too. I think it's time to start thinking about FPL. We're a week away from another deadline, and yeah, we're going to have a little bit of an international break. Chit chat, talking about various positions, probably some teams, probably some just general mess-arsing about, which is normally what we do when we all get together. But it should be cool. Who's going to mention about the subscriptions? I'm delegating today, so I'm going to go to Mini Mariner in the bottom corner, John Terry. Come on, Nima, just do this. Do the old. You can do the intro.
I know it off by heart. So
yeah,
FG1 XMB. If you're on the podcast and you've not joined the mini league yet, the code is FG1 XMB. I've got that memorized because every time I see someone in the top 100, I tell them to join the mini league to get ahead of everyone else. I want to compete with the best of the best. I should put the screen on for you, by the way.
There are certain shows that they lift their followers up. They're like, join us and we'll all go forward. But no, we use people to try to lift ourselves up.
Well, that's right. But if you look at the mini league, come on, Nima, I'd like you to read out the the top three. Come
Yeah,
on.
we'll give the top three a shout outs. We've got Khalid Bedaki with Safeguards. I think he's actually 127 OR at the moment. In number 2, we have Dave Paxton, the Vestal Virgils. He's at OR 171. And then third place is Temidayo Banko, Tabanki's Bankers. He's 554. I think we have 7 people in the top 1K already. So it's a very intense and competitive league. Come and join us. Obviously, the prizes are still there to be won. There's a football jersey from Shirt Loot Box. There's a Fantasy Football Fix premium membership. And there is also a book from Matt Whelan. So come and join the Net That Hall mini league, win one of the prizes or not, and enjoy competing with the hosts and all our guests.
I just got a quick question here. Sorry, what extension are you using there, Marner? Because like it's saying kind of last 5 game week scores and chip usage and stuff.
I think that's off the international. That's the international. Oh, fucking Christ! It's on the normal thing.
No, it's FPL Tools. It's FPL Tools, the Indian website.
Is it Tools?
Yeah, it's definitely FPL Tools.
It's the normal thing.
No, because there's a lot of detail there, like team value and like chip usage
great.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite impressive. But Dave Paxton,
Shout out to Dave Paxton, right?
Yeah, Dave's very active on Twitter, like, you know, so he's been doing great. Like obviously he's like 171 overall, and I think he was in the top 100 there for a while. So out of everybody, he's the most active on Twitter, I think.
And he gave us a really nice appreciation as well.
I blame it on the time zone for me getting that goal tongue-tied there. Yeah, it's a Google tool, apparently, whatever one of those is.
The Google extension called FPL Tools.
FPL Tools.
Yeah.
Something.
I want to give a shout out. You just took who's controlling the bloody screen? I can see we're having a fight here already. I'm going to give a shout out.
I'm not even logged in.
Brad Curry and his team name, Pfizer Chiefs. I like that. I think that's very clever. Whoever came up with that team name is a Brad, you're a legend. I really like that. Very, very good indeed. Shall we have a look at the content then? Shall I start off? I've got a few slides as always, as if I would not have some statistical slides for you boys to all chew over. So I'm going to put some numbers up, and then pretty much I'm just going to let you lot just all either rip my numbers apart or agree with me. And, you know, we might mention a couple of tweets out this week where we might have mentioned players like Harvey Barnes might have been mentioned and other things like that. Especially for, there he is, he's shaking his head in the ball.
Pass. Next slide.
Don't worry, it's all going to be big wind up. Right, let's have a look. So what we got? So what I've done is I've done something slightly differently this week. I've not made any notes for the presentation because I forgot. I'm just going to literally just read out what we've got on the screen and just say, I've not done the fixture difficulty in any way other than the whole way as usual. What I've done is I've just looked at the last 6 games. In fact, it's the start of this season, actually. So I think 5 or 6 games at home, 5 or 6 games away. So if we plot that into a fixture difficulty and we'll look at it from the point of view of home fixtures, who are in form and who are not. I think that's a simple way of putting it. So if we looked at the fixture difficulties, and it's not the actual Net That Hall fixture difficulty, but it's the one for 21-22. We've got attack at home. We've got Liverpool at 1.3, Chelsea 1.5, City 2.2, United 2.3, Brentford 2.5 at the top. And at the bottom, Watford 5.4, Dean Smithless Villa 5.0, Newcastle 4.8, Brighton 4.5, and Southampton 4.5. The interesting thing, and I'm going to come to you, Nima, first of all, because I've been trashing Arsenal, as you know, laughing, guffawing at Arsenal for what feels like an eternity this season. But they are in third when it comes to improvement and form over the point of view of the season. If you look at the variance on the they're at minus 1.7, behind Palace at 1.9 and Wolves at 1.8. Should I be taking Arsenal seriously now? I've benched Smith Rowe for 2 out of his 3 recent returns, so you could piss yourself laughing at me for that for a start. But should we be taking them seriously? They're still, they're not doing. We're at 2.9 fixture difficulty. So what do you think?
Yes, I think the fixtures do turn a bit. I think I've had White the whole season, so I wouldn't be kind of moving him on. So I know people are going for double Chelsea, double City defense. I'm looking to play a back three, not a back four, and White and Livramento will do me just fine. I think White and Duffy, if you had them, they rotate till like game week 30 pretty much. So I think an Arsenal defensive asset, if you don't have Ramsdale, then you probably want at least White or Tomiyasu. I'm not so hot on Tierney just because obviously he was out injured and Tavares really impressed. So I think they're properly competing against each other, and Tierney had a killer performance for Scotland tonight. But it's nice. They're obviously healthy competition against each other. So I think really if you've got Smith Rowe, he's a keep. He is being mass purchased, so it seems like the wrong time to sell him while the bandwagon grows. I don't think he'll be hauling the same way he has. People have said his numbers are unsustainable statistically, but I would actually beg to disagree long term because he's doing something that it will be a bit potentially like Ramsey-esque, where people are like, he can't keep this up. He can't just keep running into the box and shooting and scoring. And I think he can because he actually said some stuff in his interviews. And, you know, I like to listen to what managers and players say. And he'd been told by Arteta to work on his shooting. So I think it's been talked about that he's being coached a lot to kind of shoot from better positions, arrive in better positions. And Saka seems to be the more creative player, whereas Smith Rowe seems to be the more dangerous one, more likely to score. So I'm really pissed off that I went for Saka over Smith Rowe. So you benched Smith Rowe's points, so I'm glad for that. But you're already ahead. You're already ahead of me. So if you played them, fucking hell, who knows? But
well, it's your own fault because you never watched the matchup show. Gabe, we've been saying all season about Smith Rowe being a better option than Saka, haven't we? Just shows that these other two here, they need to start watching our show.
It's like what you keep saying to Big Man Bakar. Every time Big Man Bakar's like, I should have done this, and you're like, yeah, we said it on the net that whole. You should have watched.
I don't know, that makes me think of I think of Arsenal, and I don't think it is sustainable from a tactical perspective. I don't think Arsenal can do this to everybody. And I don't think Smith Rowe can continue to do that when other teams figure out or adapt and adjust their system to what Arsenal is doing. And then will Saka be needed more, right? Arteta will adapt. I'm not saying that teams will necessarily be able to stop Arsenal, but I think they will, perhaps tactically speaking, be able to stop Emil Smith Rowe.
Smith Rowe himself, yeah. I think at that price point, though, if you got him under 5.5 million, I think some got him at 5.3. I can't imagine there's a better option for like a fourth mid. Hence why I don't understand why he's being benched.
That's the thing. There are several, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's Gallagher, right?
Well,
there's good.
It's funny you'd say that because that's what I wanted to actually bring up there. You mentioned Gallagher. Gallagher and Smith Rowe, I think, rotate really, really well. I'm sure I read that somewhere. Maybe someone wants to check that whilst I'm talking to make sure I'm not talking complete crap. And if it is, the caveat is it's 6:52 in the morning in Singapore now. But I want to actually bring in Hibbo here because you know me, Hibbo, I'm pretty good at remembering things. I've got a bit of a long memory. I'm a bit like an elephant. And I remember a conversation pre-season about Crystal Palace.
I've actually held my hands up on Twitter about that this week.
Can I bring you in on Crystal Palace? I mean, look, they are ranked at home anyway. They're ranked, I think 6th or 7th for attack at 2.6. And if we move across to the defence as well, they're actually ranked 2nd at home now at 1.7. And again, improving on both metrics. Where are you with them? I mean, I think, like you say, I think I'm pulling your leg a little bit. I think you're already rode back from that a tiny bit. But where are you on Palace, mate?
Well, Chappie had a tweet out this week basically talking about, say, bad takes for the season. And like I contributed and said, look, I said that I think Vieira was going to be sacked by Christmas and I felt that Palace were going to be bottom. And I says I got it completely wrong. Now, where I stand on Palace is their numbers are good. Like, you know, their defensive numbers are good. If I look at kind of our teams from a kind of structure point of view and the kind of defenders that we have, like I know a lot of us have kind of Trent, Cancelo, some of us have James, Rudiger, Chilwell, guys like that, maybe Diaz and Livramento. It's hard for me to see how I could fit a Palace defender on there. In terms of the attack, I would probably go for Gallagher and nobody else, if you know what I mean. So I don't know if I'm going to own a Palace player in the near future, is kind of what I'm trying to say to you, but
you're not allowed one this season.
I actually replied that the chappish tweet and says I might be completely stubborn and dig my heels in and not own one for the season because that's what I said in the first place. But no, I completely got it wrong. Like Vieira's done a great job on there. What I will say in my defence slightly, I'm going to defend myself a bit and say I think at the time they hadn't signed Conor Gallagher, and at the time they hadn't made a few signings that they had since made. But look, I got Vieira completely wrong. I thought he was going to bomb and die in his arse, and it hasn't been the case at all. But at the same time, I don't know if I could encourage people to go out and say buy a Palace defender because I think there's like an elite defence at the minute, which consists of maybe like Trent, Cancelo, James, maybe Diaz, maybe Chilwell, Livramento, or you could drop down maybe one of your fourth or fifths as well. So I'm not really sure like if I would advise people to buy. They have been good, don't get me wrong, but
what about one? Because I was going to say, it's
can I ask a question about the rotation?
Yeah, I think is the rotate. Have you got something there, Gabe? I'm pretty sure it's there, isn't it?
No, I just wanted to ask because I didn't see anything about that until this is the first I hear of it. But I wonder what is that rotation based off of? Because it seems that Conor Gallagher he returns in seemingly difficult games or seemingly difficult matchups as well. It just depends from a tactical perspective. I think what they're going to do if he's going to play higher or further back. So I'd just like to know what that rotation is based on. Is it based on the red and green of the official FDR, or is it based on tactical matchups, or what?
I'm quoting somebody else. I mean, John Chappell's in the chat there. John's normally pretty good at being able to put us right if we're wrong. So if he can let us know. But, I mean, look, I think we keep the conversation going about Palace because I think I'm going to move forward a slide. I'm going to say Palace are really only good at home. Because if you look at Palace away from home, they're ranked 16th for attack and about 14th for defence.
It's Hibbo's Palace.
So that's Hibbo's Palace.
That's Hibbo's Palace. You weren't entirely wrong, Hibbo.
So you're not entirely. Yes, exactly. We'll give you a little bit of credit there, Hibbo. Just. I'll tell you who I want to do. I want to come to you now, Gabe. And we all know you, Sleepy Joe. You don't do predictions, do you? Well, you're trying to with your new net XG, but even then, I think it's so far against the grain. I think you're struggling even to predict even on that. But Newcastle, we've just showed it. I mean, I mentioned they're not doing particularly well when it comes to, shall we say, at home, particularly badly at home. If I move back to the slide, where are they? 18th from the perspective of attack at home and bottom defensively at home. And away, they're 18th and 6th and 7th and 15th. How much of a job has Eddie Howe got?
I mean, there's a team there. Is when I look at those players, I think there's a team there. I think he's definitely got his work cut out for him. I don't know how he's going to fix the back. I mean, structurally speaking, I'm not sure he has the players. Certainly in central midfield. So I think he's got to focus on attack, I guess. And this is I'm just guessing. If it were me, I mean, there's one player there that. So if it were me, I would focus on Saint-Maximin and trust that he knows Callum Wilson. And Saint-Maximin, the reason you focus on him is because if you can focus on him and get the best out of him, his market value will increase such that Newcastle could maybe sell him and leverage that for the future. I don't know if that was part of the plan that he created, but unlocking, I think, Saint-Maximin is kind of the key to Newcastle's success. And I think staying up would be a result of that. And that's really the target this season.
I mean, looking at it, for me, what's the first thing you've got to do as a team who are in trouble? Stop losing, right? The first thing you've got to do is stop losing, tighten up at the back. Has Eddie Howe even got the players to be able to tighten up at the back? I'm not sure. I think Callum Wilson is an obvious option for FPL. But, players like cheap options like Manquillo and people like that, is he even going to play now? We don't even know he's even going to play.
He doesn't have the pedigree as a defensive manager either, does he?
No.
No, well, he's been talking about. I think Newcastle have at times been playing like a back five, and he's been talking about moving to like a back four, which is, given how bad they've been with a back five, like it's like I don't know how much value there is in moving to a back four, because I think there's a potential that they could take a few beatings. Like I'm not sold in Eddie Howe, if I'm being totally honest, because like he took Bournemouth down. I think he's got a bit to prove. I know at one point he was tapped to be this up and coming English manager, but the jury's out with this group of players he has there at Newcastle. I think he's got a lot of work to do, and I know the community's kind of going a bit crazy for like new manager bounce in the last week, and people are talking about Callum Wilson, I suppose, but I don't know. It's 7.3 million. I think there's value elsewhere, if I'm being totally honest.
I like Callum Wilson a lot, actually, as an asset, because because of his goal involvement. He was a centerpiece at Bournemouth. He'll be the centerpiece. He'll continue to be the centerpiece at Newcastle, but the back six is just atrocious. It's just a wreck. But there's a front four, I guess. You know, what are you going to do? You work with what you have.
Say as it is. Come on, tell it.
It's a shipwreck. I guess is the best way to characterize it.
We're ramming the trawler has crashed against the rocks.
And you brought in Eddie Howe. You didn't bring in fucking Sam Allardyce, right? You brought in Eddie Howe, so it's going to remain a wreck.
I've got to be very careful what I say. I nearly said something then. But I won't.
You got a Newcastle shirt behind you.
It's a Grimsby shirt, for crying out loud. And it's net that hole, not net the hole.
What about netting that hole?
Fishnet that hole.
Fishnet that hole. That's another 18. That's another 18 ban. God's sake. Can we quickly look at these numbers? I tell you what, I'm going to quickly read out the form teams away from home for attack and defence. I'm going to pick a few out though. But let me look at the attack for a start. Liverpool, they broke the metric at the moment. If we look at the performance for this season, -0.4, improving. Man City 1.9, West Ham 2, Chelsea 2.8, Wolves 3.1, and obviously attack wise at the bottom, who is it? Oh, it's Arsenal 5.7. So you're only good at home as well, Nima, really, or can I say, is Ramsdale just saving your bacon? Is that the fair way to say?
He was the player of the month, and the month before was Tomiyasu. So take of that what you will. 2 months in a row.
It's always a bad sign, isn't it? It's always a bad sign when the goalkeeper gets man of the match.
Yeah,
player of the month, even worse.
Be careful! Don't upset the United fans whose player of the season for 2 years was De Gea, and for 2 years before that was Young or something.
I haven't got to them yet. There's opportunity for me to go at them yet today.
When your player of the season is your defender, that's a relegation.
But look, when you're worse than Norwich, according to my numbers this season away from home, locked in clean sheet.
But it's who have we played away from home, right? So I think this is where the context is key.
Yeah.
We've played like City away. We're going to play Liverpool away this week, I think we've got United away coming up, Everton away coming up. Like this is
hold on. Nima, those games coming up are not included in these stats.
No. I'm saying it's going to get worse. I'm saying it's going to get worse.
If you break the metric, I'll do the next show. I'll do the show in that show.
It's going to get below 7. It's going to get below 7 soon.
Oh, United away is a good fixture.
Yeah,
to be fair, I'm waiting for my Ben Foster 11-pointer this week.
Yeah, Ben Foster clean sheet this week.
Oh dear. Anyway, let me quickly mention this. So Arsenal bottom at 5.7, Norwich 5.6 for attack away, Newcastle 4.8, Palace 4.8. So there we go. There's Palace not being so good away as at home. Burnley and Leicester at 4.5. Turning to defence, West Ham at the top now, 2. Man City 2.1, Wolves 2.7, Chelsea 2.9, Watford 3. God knows how that's happened. And at the bottom, Burnley 5.5, Norwich 5.4, Southampton 4.9. They look a bit like whipping boys to me nowadays. But before we go on to this general chit-chat about this, I want to bring up West Ham. There's a lot of people jumping off West Ham assets, but West Ham attack away are still ranked 3rd, right, with a fixture difficulty of 2. At home, West Ham have dropped now somewhat to around mid-table at 3.2. But Hibbo, can I come to you? What's
Yeah.
your view on West Ham assets at this moment in time?
I would probably just going to get my fixture ticker up here in the background. It looks to me as if they've got a bit of a harder run until about off the top of my head. I think it's game week 16. Just bear with me, just do a check here.
You're right, it is 16.
It is game week 16. They kind of start to get a wee bit better around then. Like they've got Wolves away coming up, Man City away, Brighton at home, and then Chelsea at home. So that's a pretty difficult run when you consider Man City, Brighton, and Chelsea are kind of considered the more elite defences in the league. They do get easier, and I think like we're going to talk about him later on the show, but I think Bowen showed a lot of form recently. He's been kind of slowly but surely kind of ticking away under the radar, like, you know, in terms of returns. I own him in FPL draft, believe it or not. He's kind of getting me assists and stuff, and he done very well in the fixture against Aston Villa, the 4-1, you know. So all things being said, I know there's been a lot of kind of worry in the community about Antonio and his returns, and look, you look at the goals that they've scored against Liverpool. They scored 3. They scored 4 against Aston Villa. If you look at those 7 goals over 2 games, and you think Antonio didn't have any involvement in them, it's surprising, really. And I think if you're looking at the other strikers that are available at the minute, we don't really have a good deep pool of strikers. So I wouldn't be advising anybody to jump off Antonio. Quite the opposite. I think if his team's doing the kind of production that West Ham are doing at the minute, the returns are going to come. Just stick with Antonio would be my advice.
Yeah. I think I tend to... He's underperforming as well. As I looked at the underperformance, and it's quite noticeable that there is, you know, he's... I suppose, you know, we could argue that underperformance it means 2 things, Gabe, doesn't it? It could mean you're absolute crap and you couldn't hit a barn door from a yard, or it means you've actually been unlucky and you're due. I think in Antonio's case, I think I would say that he's due. I think that's fair.
I kind of think with Antonio earlier, and I don't mean to cut down in front of Gabe, but I think earlier in the season he overperformed. So, like, you know, if you look at his stats over the basis of say 11 game weeks, his shots he's up there with I think Salah and Mane and guys like that in terms of like his kind of output. So he was always due to kind of regress a wee bit because I think early doors he scored probably more than what he should have, but I do think he'll kind of reach those heights again.
Gabe, on the over and under performance aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, but for a player like Antonio, and we're used to Antonio overperforming. That's kind of his baseline. Is underperforming right now? Is he more just performing? Is it just kind of like just regular?
Fair enough.
And at his price, is that, you know, can we deal with that? Can we deal with, well, for when he's on a hot streak, he's going to overperform, and when he's not, he's going to regularly perform. I think it's still good value. I also understand why people would sell. You know, given the upcoming fixtures, you could do something in the short term, but I think long term, Antonio is still one of the best forward options in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Hibbo hit the nail on the head with West Ham for me. I own 2 West Ham players. I own Benrahma and Antonio. Benrahma will depart. Finally, he will depart. I've been saying it for weeks. Gabe's been talking me out of it with all these zonal matchups. And as Dom says, I just put him on the screen, Benrahma's frustrating me. Well, you and me both, Dom. But to be honest, Benrahma is one of the reasons why I'm ranked where I am, because I got on board him really early and I've benefited from his points at the start of the season. For once, using the eye test rather than numbers.
Has the production shifted to Bowen and Fornals?
Certainly. Yeah, we'll come on to that, actually. We'll see when we start looking at the varying the positions and everything, which we're going to go on to.
Just to make a quick point in West Ham generally, like it was before kind of game week 11, I saw like a league table and transfer market, which included, say, like just this kind of calendar year as opposed to the season. And I think West Ham ranked 3rd. Behind it was like Man City 1st, Chelsea 2nd, and West Ham in 3rd. And like everybody was kind of jumping. Well, some people were jumping Rafinha, Di Jota. And I thought about it and thought, I don't think West Ham's like an easy fixture to be jumping off. And at the time, the matchup with Rafinha for Leeds against Leicester, I thought was a good matchup. And I think it was one of those moves in FPL terms, which it makes sense because people can make the transfer with their team in terms of their budget. And then they start to pick all these reasons to kind of justify the move. And I kind of thought, I do want Jota, but it was too early, in my opinion, to move the Jota. I think there's going to be a time to move the Jota, and I didn't think it was against West Ham.
Yeah, I think there's always I'm afraid, I'm sure we're all, hello, Bella the dog. We've got Bella the dog on in the corner as well now. Probably better at FPL than Nima. But anyway, there we go.
She needs a team, yeah.
FPL Bella.
Yeah, FPL Bella. What was I saying? I think we're probably all a little bit guilty of picking a player and then trying to find a narrative around that player. I'm sure we've all been there. It's actually the wrong way completely. What you should actually do, in my opinion, I think I start the numbers and go the other way, and then look at it and then go, right, okay, now is it right? And then we mentioned this before about pods and things. I then might go and try and sense check it somewhere else. I might go and try and go to some of my trusted content and try and find it. But yeah, there's always a possibility, Hibbo, of this narrative. You almost getting drawn into your own narrative. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Mm-hmm. And I think people are maybe kind of price is a factor too. Like maybe you've got like 1 million to make the exact move, and it's like, oh, if I don't jump now, I'm not going to be able to make the move next week. Which I think sometimes you're going to jump onto a transfer maybe 2 weeks early. I think Jota, for me, I know we're going to talk about it down the line, but it's a wait and see. I want the time scale for Firmino, to be totally honest.
Yeah, but it seems like he might be out for a bit longer this time. I mean, I went on Jota last time, moved on and moved off him, and now I'm thinking about going back to him again. But there we go. That's one of those things. Just before we start on the main content and things with respect to the players, Nima, if you can put your dog down, do you want to say hello to a few people in the?
Yeah, there's been a few new people tuning in. I'm trying to stop her from barking in the background. She's come to spaces, she's come to streams. She'll be at the next fest event, I'm sure, paying to take selfies. You've obviously said hi to Ram and Nathan, so always first, but you've been beaten by Penguin today, so nice to see Penguin here. Really enjoyed your show with Planet FPL and obviously Mariner. That was great fun. Hope to have you with us soon. Oh, look, Gabriel, you always confuse me because I never know this is you on YouTube. What is your display picture? Is that like
I never know which account I'm logged in with. So
if you don't,
that's a meditation garden. That's a Zen meditation garden.
Okay.
If you don't hurry up, I'm going to cut you. So hurry up.
Yeah, so hi, Carl. Hi, Deville. We got Bungle, obviously, as you said. We have Plonker. So nice to see Aaron here. We have Rossley. Nice to see you. Imayed, thanks for either waiting up or waking up at 4:43 a.m. in Bangladesh.
Wow.
Commitment there. Well done, buddy.
Yeah,
Impressive.
number one hauler today. Nasu as well, looking for some matchups. John Chappelle, nice to see you. Any other final people? Andy Martin, pleased to see you. Who else do we have? We have Harry Dawson, nice to see you, mate. We have Dom as well, who you mentioned. He's your fellow Benrahma owner who's suffering away. Who else do we have? And FPL Planner tuning in from Australia. Good morning, mate. So I think that's everyone for now, and we'll come back.
G'day.
You missed a few. We've got Carl in. We've got Nasu in. We've got Devil in.
Definitely said all of them.
He got
Devil, not Devil. For God's sake.
He said United over Arsenal. I just thought he's Red Devil.
I'm just seeing if we've got any other people who else.
I've got FPL
Fledgling
Fledgling as well.
An FPL Fledgling. So, well, there we go. So, thank you very much for joining us, Haulers. You are officially part of the Haulers of Fame. That's not bad. That's not bad for 7:13.
That's not bad.
Actually,
that's all right.
How are the dogs impressed? Look.
How are we going to get through this content if we're 34 minutes in now?
Easy. Dead easy. Because I don't think what we're going to do here then is who wants to do the goalkeepers? First of all, who owns Sanchez? Does anyone own Sanchez in this?
Yeah,
group?
I've still got him.
Yeah.
Great. Nima, you're the one. You've got Foster though, haven't you? You jammy git.
Yeah, I'm going to play Foster for my clean sheet in Hall against United this week.
What would you do if you didn't have him? Or you didn't have Steele, or you didn't have Foster? Looking at that, I
would just play without a goalkeeper for a week. It's just not worth it. It's such a waste of my moves, in my opinion. If I definitely had to move and it was long term and I was going to keep them to like game week 25 or 30 onwards, I think I would actually consider going for an Edison to get into the double city defense via Cancelo and Edison long term. There's a few people who've done that, including FPL Matthew, and as Dread, another friend of ours, has done it. I'm normally not a premium goalkeeper kind of person, but if I was going to be selling a 4.5 keeper who's missing just one game, I'd have to be upgrading or something. Like I wouldn't be going to Ramsdale or Gaeta. That's just not me.
Fair enough. Hibbo, Alex McCarthy is sneaking up on the rails for Southampton as being a potential option for goalkeepers moving forward. And like, if I don't know if you know the way that, just to explain, just for the guys, we've got the power tables up now on the screen. If anybody's listening to this,
they've given up by now.
Yeah, maybe if you haven't already given up, yeah. But it lists all the various metrics that we look at, things like baseline bonus points, clean sheets, goals conceded, shots in the box saved, big chances saved, non-penalty XG against, expected goals on target, conceded, etc. We put that all into like a production stat for a goalkeeper and then put the fixture difficulty in as well. And you see McCarthy there sitting ranked 5th with a fixture difficulty, which is really poor, of 15th for Southampton. If I make that lower, McCarthy jumps right up. His numbers, his underlying numbers are pretty good. But Hibbo, where are you with respect to the cheap goalkeepers at the moment? Let's say somebody's wildcarding. It's always a good topic, isn't it? So if somebody's wildcarding, who would you be going for a goalkeeper at this moment in time?
I think Ramsdale's the best pick, if I'm being totally honest. Like, I brought him on my wildcard, and I initially kind of thought I made a mistake. And I initially kind of thought, should I just stuck with Sanchez? But then Ramsdale kept a 10-pointer. I actually had him on my bench that week because I played Ben Foster. And like normally people would be kind of frustrated at that, but I was kind of safe in the knowledge that I kind of thought to myself, no, I think I've got goalkeeper right. And for me, it kind of seems a perfect combination at the minute of the fact that Arsenal have kind of tightened up a wee bit. I do like their defence. He's keeping some saves. He's not doing too bad, but where he seems to be doing well is kind of recovery. So he's making kind of claims and crosses and loose balls, which seems to be helping his bonus potential. I think in a match recently, Ramsdale made one save, but he also got a bonus point, which was really weird. So like this is to do with the other stuff that he's doing on the games. And he doesn't have good pass accuracy in the match in question. So it was all down to recoveries. But I know he doesn't have a great fixture this week, and I think that would normally put people off. But I think long term, Ramsdale for me is the pick on that kind of price point, because I do think he's got that higher ceiling than say like a Sanchez, where if he's going to make the saves, I think he's going to get a bit of bonus as well.
Yeah, I mean McCarthy doesn't do so well for baseline bonus points, but he does very, very well for all the other metrics. So it's an interesting point, because for a while we've been saying, Ramsdale, Sanchez has dropped a bit. Look, and if we looked at it in ranking, we've got Mendy, then Ramsdale, then Edison, then Gaeta, then McCarthy. There's obviously 3 cheap options in Ramsdale, who's in 2nd, Gaeta in 4th, McCarthy 5th. I'm on Ramsdale. I'm a bit like you. I was thinking I'd made a complete monstrous mistake, but that's maybe my Arsenal bias coming out. But sorry, Neva. but yeah, I think Ramsdale's still a pretty solid shout.
But I think if we look at the data since Arteta was appointed, and if you look at him recently and the fact that he's added Ramsdale and he's added a Tomiyasu, their defence is kind of starting to tick along nicely, and it's not reached Brighton levels, far from it, but they are kind of upticking a wee bit. So I do think the combination of saves, these kind of recoveries and stuff like that, I'm hot in Ramsdale, and I do think he is the cheap keeper. Very often I nail the cheap keeper. I usually do get the cheap keeper right.
Yeah.
And I do think in Ramsdale I have got it right this time. So I'm happy enough for him to sit there until 2nd wildcard, I think.
Yeah. I'll tell you what this does, and it's a very interesting thing, but if you look at the graphic here, look at Edison, 20 for saves, shots in the box, big chances, etc. 24, ranked 24th, 22nd, 27th. Look at Sanchez, 23rd, 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 right? They're so similar. We said this before, didn't we, in the last international break, that Sanchez is like a cheap version of Edison in many senses.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Very cheap, very similar type of numbers look. But that means they are 2-pointers or 6-pointers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing much else there, right?
That's why I don't like. That's why I don't like Ederson. Like, you know, and I know Neiman's talking about, say, a route on the kind of double, but I think you could get Diaz, and Diaz could maybe offer you a bit of goal threat as well if you were going to go that way. He hasn't scored one this year, but I know the centre backs didn't do too bad last year for Man City, so I would be kind of more inclined to go that way. Although, in saying that, I do own Diaz at the minute, and I'm kind of considering if I have to go to Kane, maybe dropping him down.
I'm looking to buy him with Kane as my.
I'm looking at selling him.
I'm not entirely too sure. Like, but one thing I wanted to do was either go Diaz to maybe Chilwell, and then now I'm thinking I could go Diaz to cheap, and then I could get Kane and also have money to upgrade the Jota elsewhere. So this is like where it becomes nearly like 4D chess, and you're thinking a couple of moves ahead. You know,
that the Sun bandwagon has crashed leaving the station
because they didn't score against the UAE.
Yeah, what a strict team.
It's like international break bias. Like if you scored a hat-trick against Albania, like you suddenly become the best player in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw that Albania is ranked lower than Burkina Faso in the world rankings.
I think we could put a team together that would do better.
I'm not sure about that. I reckon my knees will fall off.
No, if I may, I have a comment on the bonus and the baseline bonus.
On the goalkeepers, do you want me to move back to the slide? Sorry.
Yes. So, you know, Ramsdale does have 5 bonus points this season, but his baseline bonus is way lower than Sanchez, for example. Sanchez has 162, and that's Raya. Where is he? Ramsdale 131. Where Sanchez has 3 bonus points and Ramsdale has 5.
Yeah, but Ramsdale's only played about 5. He didn't play for the first 4 or 5 games, right?
Sure, but my point is that he has more bonus points than Sanchez as it is. But I think goalkeepers, I think Sanchez is the right pick. I think Ramsdale is also the right pick. And I think it's just going to, you know, it's going to ebb and flow throughout the season. And at the end, they're going to be almost identical goalkeepers, I think. So just going from one to another, like Nima was saying earlier, I think it's pretty useless. And oftentimes like this, it doesn't. The baseline bonus won't show who actually got the bonus points.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just think, by the way.
Sorry.
So in 20 weeks' time, like all these 4.5 mil goalkeepers, they're going to be within 15 points of each other.
Yeah.
That's not going to change my.
Hence, we need to move. Move off goalkeepers right now.
But just to make a point here in closing about baseline in general, and it's that see baseline. Like if we're going to compare all these goalkeepers against baseline, I think what we really need to be doing with baseline is you need to be comparing them to the other kind of defenders on the block, because what Gabe's saying about Sanchez is correct, but Brighton have defenders that do quite well for baseline because they're a possession side and they make a lot of passes. So like basically Sanchez on a clean sheet is competing with Duffy, Dunk, Cucurella, Veltman for bonus. Like he's not directly competing with Ramsdale unless they're playing in the same match, if you know what I mean. So like Ramsdale's competing with Tomiyasu, who's probably not great for bonus, Ben White, who's probably not great for bonus. So you could be a lower baseline player, but it's relative to what the other defenders in your team are doing.
Why don't we just cut to the chase? Hibbo? Ramsdale's got to save something. Sorry, Nima.
That's why I benched Ramsdale.
But at least he saves it, right? So Sanchez just concedes.
No, fair play. Yeah, fair play. Sanchez doesn't have to save much. He doesn't save much.
That's why I said I go for Edison. That's why I said I go for Edison if I had to move, because I'll just basically get more 6s than 2s, but they're the same player.
Yeah,
him and Sanchez
totally.
and Edison, the same player.
I agree, but you made the great point. In the end of the season, it won't really matter. So let's keep going then. Let's look at the cheap defenses. Gabe, I'm going to come to you on this one, if that's all right. So obviously we've done the same thing for the power tables. We've got for defense, for the cheap defense, and I've termed it 4th and 5th, possibly, depending if what you're doing with your structure. Perhaps if you're going for Son and Kane, you might need 2 cheap defenders, I would argue. So who's up there at the moment? Well, Pinnock, Livramento, Loughton, Llorente, Janssen. I'm not going any further because then I get to Dyer.
Stop right there.
So stop right there.
Yeah, I mean, what's? I thought you were going to take Dyer out of there, Mariner. I'm upset right now.
I wanted to at least mention it just to upset you before I let you talk.
And I'll be brief. I'll be brief. I think this is a brief conversation. Honestly, like Livramento, you have because he's budget, and then the value is unavoidable. In theory, you would have 4 big hitting defenders because they're the ones that are smashing right now. If you want to go a little bit different, then and go with maybe 3 big hitters and one of these, it wouldn't be for me. But I think Pinnock would be involved in a lot of bonus points because of the amount of passes he's involved in on the team. How he kind of holds the possession, the deep lying possession on that team. Other than that, I couldn't bring myself to get a Burnley defender, an Arsenal defender. I guess maybe Ben White at 4-4. I don't know. Nima says he does get bonuses, but Hibbo says he doesn't. I don't know.
Sold him weeks ago.
Look, lads, all I'm going to say is Ben White has completed more successful dribbles than Sancho, so suck it.
What about Mitchell from Palace there? He's sat there with ranked first for big chances created, equal first actually with a few. But I'm sure that rotation's there with Arsenal. Mitchell and White rotation.
I'm not a fan of rotation because in rotation you miss the unexpected hauls. So if you're gonna have a defender, like if you're gonna have one of these defenders, he's like a just in case player, maybe a first bench. So that's why I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting past my idea that I think right now the best value in the game is in defense, is in those big hitting defenders, and you should have 4 of them with Livramento. So looking through any of these, I just see a lot of warts.
Okay, warts.
Hibbo,
you're primed. I'm going to let you go.
No, well, for me, like if I'm looking at your table, like I bought Livramento at 4 million. Out of all those defenders, if I know his price is now say 4.5. If we drop his price down to 4, which is what I got him for, he's the best value there by a million miles.
Yeah,
I completely agree with Gabe's point, but I think I would like to have a conversation with the 4Es now, and I want to ask you, who are the 4 best defenders in the game? Or the 5 best defenders? If you could pick a five-man defense for your squad now, who would you pick?
I think we all know who they are.
Yeah, well,
but I think it's relative to the conversation that all our people have. Because people are saying, "Oh, what about Mitchell as an option?" And you're going, "I don't know how to fit Mitchell onto my team because if I think the best 5 defenders are these 5 defenders, I don't really know if I can have a conversation about Mitchell. It's like, and that's not me trying
differential for differential's sake.
No, but I think there is a point though, because look, some people are going to go differential on double Spurs. I know they are, right? Now, if you go in differential on double Spurs, you're probably going to need 2 of these, right? Now, Livramento is obviously one complete lock-in, but I've just seen Tom Stevenson there. Lamptey getting back to fitness.
I like the Lamptey shout. I think
I like the Lamptey shout as well. Yeah.
Durable, isn't it?
I mean, look, his leg's going to fall off, so it won't be debated in 2 weeks. But Mr. Greenhouse, as I called him last year, but I love him. I think he's a fantastic player. I love to watch him as well. It would get me into that Brighton defence, which I don't have at the moment, which is a bit of a concern, given Sanchez's ownership. There's a lot to be said. So if you were looking at that double Spurs, for example, so Salah plus Kane and Son, for sake of argument, so you'd have to go that way. Then is Lamptey an option?
But I think the question comes back to what's really optimal, and as double Spurs compared to having like the elite 5 defenders optimal, and I don't think it is.
I think it's very much dependent on how you play the game, Hibbo. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong answer. I can see what you're saying, but can you see where I'm coming from by saying?
I completely see where you're coming from, but I do think that there would be a right or wrong answer, because in this, one of them is going to score more points than the other one, and I do think Like if you're going to go say Kane and Son and also have Salah, like how hamstrung are you going to be throughout your squad? Like, you know,
Is
like
that about are you talking about Tariq Lamptey now?
but if you know what I mean,
But there are ways to save in midfield, right? You could have Smith Rowe and Gallagher, for example, with Salah, and I think there are ways to make it work. But to your point, Mariner, just to kind of get to the question, out of all of these, I think for me, if I was going to punt, it would be an upside punt. So it would be Lamptey, because Lamptey's ceiling is much higher than any of these. And I would punt like if I hit lightning in a bottle, great. But I don't want a 4.5, 4.6 ticker.
No.
When I can have the lightning at the higher price points, like Hibbo's saying.
I think just on that, I think it goes hand in hand with the goalkeeper, like we said earlier in the season. So I think it's pretty like straightforward to me. I don't even think it's a debate. You either own Sanchez plus someone like White, or you own something like Ramsdale plus Duffy or Lamptey. That's it. There's not even a section for any Palace defenders there for me personally. Like you're just kind of combining.
You're in Hibbo's camp then.
But I do
it's
think
just these aren't the positions I'd want to move around in. Like
I think it's as black and white as that, as what Neem is saying too.
Yeah. Fair enough. Good.
And just to throw a comment up on the screen from Andy Martin. So he's saying if he wants double Spurs, he's not dropping Cancelo, Diaz, Trent, or James down to a 4.5. Now, worth listening to because Andy Martin is going particularly well at the minute. And I think it's worth tuning your ears on the players that are going well because they're usually in about a heater.
Yeah, fair point. The mid-price defenders, as I've turned between 5 and 5.5, I don't think it's going to take very long. Because I think the structure doesn't really. We've already pretty much said we're going to get to your answer or your question in a second, Hibbo, when I move up to the premiums, because we probably know where we're going. There's just one player I'm probably going to mention, and I'm probably going to say it wrong. Reguilon, or as Gabe says,
Reguilon.
There we go. That's how you say it properly.
Reguilon.
I mean, obviously, this doesn't take into account low minute players. I think that's the one thing which is important to say. But, he's sat there ranked 6 now, equals 6 now. Things are changing at Spurs. Could he be an option? Players, someone like Reguilon or Royal, could they be options?
You call him
Royal. Bloody hell, Royal.
Royal sounds like a brand of
family, right? You watch the
it sounds like a
family.
brand of cigarettes.
Condoms.
No, that's mates. They're condoms, mates, right?
Back when you were growing up, yeah.
Yeah, mates.
You keep your mates in your pocket.
Yeah,
your FPL mates.
Careful.
It wouldn't be international break without it.
No beef.
We don't do beef.
What about
Plonker's in the house though?
What about Reguilon, Gabe?
Who?
Or Reguilon.
Again, for the same points like Hibbo said earlier, how is he a better option than the big four and Livramento? He just can't compete right now. He can't. Maybe when Conte turns the team around, depending on how he turns around, roll the R's. Then maybe he could be a consideration. But I think we're so far from that I don't know that Conte has the personnel to make that a shutdown.
I would be very interested. I don't know when the next international break is, but the next time we do this at some stage, I'd be very interested to see whether this has changed. Because
for the record, James from Planet FPL, he actually likes Emerson Royal. So even more than Reguilon. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah, he mentioned that to me on Penguin's stream last night. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm going to say on Reguilon? I'm going to say that Conte is going to sign a specialist left wing back at some point because I don't think Reguilon's good enough. In this Conte system, the left wing back gets an awful lot of ball, and I don't think, if you look at what he did at Inter Milan, it was Perisic, and Perisic was basically like a reverse out of position winger, And I don't think if this player is going to be so important to attack, I don't think Reguilón is going to produce an end product, if I'm being totally honest.
As I say, I didn't want this to be a long topic because I think we're going to move through it because I think the key people to look at are the premiums, right? So now we're talking. So right, I'm going to start with you, Gabe. Give us your 5. So Hibbo's challenged you for the defenders. So who would be your optimal defense?
I mean, James, Cancelo, Chilwell, Trent, Livramento. It's not hard. I think it's obvious, right?
Does anyone disagree with that?
Yeah, I disagree with Chilwell. I would just
Would you
have
go
James
Diaz?
for the. I would look at that because City's fixtures now, especially from game week 14 onwards, they look incredible. But also, I think Chelsea have been quite lucky because Mendy's been incredible. You're talking about Ramsdale being incredible for Arsenal. Well, let's be real here. Chelsea's defensive numbers have not been as good as previous season.
No.
They've just still looked as good because of Mendy's world-class abilities. Whereas City's actual defensive underlying numbers, they're still as great as they were in the first 3 or 4 weeks where they conceded 1 goal from a penalty and 1 big chance in like 5 games. So City are just, those defensive numbers are elite. And I couldn't believe the fanfare that's been happening when people were selling their second City defender to jump on Chilwell when Chilwell hauled, then to James when James hauled. I'd be happy owning just one of the two. And for me, at the moment, with the most recent bias, it's James. I just think he's in the form of his life, and he also got obviously his assist tonight for England. So
yeah,
I can't imagine him in that position being benched.
Can I just say? I topped James in pre-season on this show. So
I remember it was an incredible.
If anybody wants to send in any kind of money by PayPal or anything, just send it to me now.
No, you did. To be fair,
my defense at the minute is Cancelo, James, Trent, Diaz, and Livramento. And I think it's interesting that you make that point, Nima, because like I'm kind of thinking, could I drop Diaz down to create a bit of funds, or could I move sideways to Chilwell? But then I'm kind of thinking, Man City were like hit by a bit of variance, like really, like, you know, it was weeks that they didn't keep a clean sheet where you thought that they would have kept the clean sheet, and instead of me throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, oh, 2 kind of fixtures bust me double clean sheet twice, maybe I should just keep the 5th through the run of good fixtures right through until more or less the new year. And it could be set and forget. I do get that Diaz is maybe not that high a ceiling a player, but I think he's a higher ceiling than what people think, because people just think, oh, he's 6 points, but he does have set piece threat. So you're kind of convincing me to keep, if I'm being honest.
I think just in terms of nailedness, what I would love to add, we're all saying these Chelsea fullbacks could be rotated.
They will be rotated?
Yeah, exactly. So Diaz, I think last season when he had the virus or he was ill, he missed like 1 game. And I remember at the time we looked into it, and he'd missed like 1 game in like 3 or 4 years of professional football. And not just 1 game, it was like 5 minutes, because he just played 90 minutes of every game, never got subbed, and like played every minute of every game of his career, unless he literally broke a piece of himself or was sick. Yeah, and well, as Tom Stevenson's saying, like Christmas is coming. You know, we've got 10 game weeks in 44 days. I can't imagine why I would sell Diaz if I had him now, like, just to be completely honest.
So saying, and sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's a question I suppose I could feel to everybody. Like, in 10 game weeks, how many matches do you think Chilwell plays?
8, 7.
Yeah, 7.
7
Even
is
if he
probably
plays
fair.
9.
7.
And Diaz is going to play how many?
9.
I think
9.
10.
9 or 10. We'll give him a 9.5.
I just can't see him missing out. I just genuinely can't see him not playing.
No, I'm cooling on the idea of selling Diaz. I have to say, I've been quite keen on thinking about selling him for a while, because I'm.
If you were downgrading him to buy Son or Kane, like, I could get that. Like, I could get on that.
Well, yeah, you can, but is that still wise? Because, like you say,
well, someone said, "Do you think Diaz will outscore Son in the next 4 weeks?" I think Diaz in the next 4 game weeks can get 20 points. Son can get maybe 25 points in the next 4 weeks. You know, he's double the price.
Money's a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like.
What do you say to the people? What do you say to the people that don't have Trent?
What's wrong with them? Do they watch football?
Don't get me started on that.
So you remember that there was a time where people took Trent out, right? You remember this, and they said, "Well, I'll just bring him back." And now
I did. I did take him out and bring him back.
You did.
I had the cash. I had the cash. I had the foresight of having the cash in my wildcard spare to bring him straight back in when he was fit.
So, of say who do you take out for Trent? I mean, obviously anybody, right? But who?
It depends who they had, but for me, it would be one of the two Chelsea defenders or Diaz. If you had like Diaz and Cancelo, or if you had Rudiger and James, I'd be getting with Rudiger all day long. I have Rudiger now. I don't have a Chelsea fullback. This week, I'm actually considering doing Rudiger to James as one of my 2 free transfers. I don't like it because I've got a wild card eventually, so maybe I can do it when I have the wild card. But for me, Trent is just insane. Like someone made a really funny comment today. They were like, "Is it really big at the back if you're just buying a load of midfielders?" Because that's what James, Cancelo, and Trent are. They're just midfielders.
100%.
Yeah.
I think we used to talk about the attacking returns being the bonus on top of the clean sheet. I think we need to start looking at it the other way. The clean sheets are the bonus. Like, we're buying players for attacking returns here. They're midfielders.
Cancelo's a freak. Did you watch him against United? He was just he just ran the game. Like he basically
both sides anyway.
He ran the whole game. Like he plays like a deep line playmaker. Right. He's not a full back as such. He's just a playmaker that sits deep. Yeah. And he's just incredible.
He's going nowhere. Cancelo's going nowhere. But you do need a Livramento sat there, don't you, with those. If you're going with that type, you need to have a bench. That's the
I can appreciate someone who didn't get Livramento at 4 million and who doesn't want to spend the 4.5 now. I can see the punt in like a Lamptey. Someone mentioned in the chat he's not an FPL option or he's never played like minutes in a season. I think that is a genuine concern. If you believe that he was going to stay fit, or you'd be willing to take a hit to take him out if it went wrong. I like the idea of going Lamptey over Livramento at 4.5 versus 4.4.
Definitely. Right. Okay. So I think that sums it up quite nicely. So I think we've pretty much said that one of James or Cancelo, James or Chilwell, I should say, Cancelo, Trent, maybe Diaz, Livramento, something like that. Is that pretty much where we are?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Right. Okay. Let's have a 30-second break. What are you waiting for?
Are you craving more FPL content? Then look no further than allaboutfpl.com. Head over there for weekly articles from some of the top content creators on the planet. So what are you waiting for? Head over to allaboutfpl.com, the website for all your FPL needs.
And John Terry's gone just when I talked about it because he knew I was going to come back to him and have a go at him about all about FPL, about trying to get... But to be fair, he is involved in all about FPL. But yeah, John Terry in the corner's disappeared. So...
John Terry. It's awful. The return of John Terry.
He was away meeting somebody's
Here
wife.
he is, yeah.
Meeting somebody's wife.
Glory Hunter here.
Wow. Because his wife's out of town.
The sullying of my name.
Of course. What do you expect? It's me. It's bound to happen, right?
LBFM or whatever they're called.
We're an hour in. We need to go on to midfielders.
It's been good.
I have to say, fabulous. The chat so far is so dynamic. Absolutely loving us all being on, guys. It's so good to see you all. Budget midfield. Now I've chunked it up to 6.5 on the power tables, and I think Tielemans got I think it's flagged anyway, right? But he tops it. Interesting enough. Never even thought about him. Bowen, I thought about though, and he sits second. So. I think that cements what we said earlier on, that Bowen could be a serious option now. Trossard third, Smith Rowe, Gallagher, and what's his... I'm going to call him Ice Cream,
Cornetto.
Ice Cream.
So I always said one day I'm going to have an ice cream van in the Philippines as my retirement. So there we go. Mr. Ice Cream there, Cornet there, Burnley sat there, ranked equal fourth. Then we've got Norgard, Saka, Fornals, and Harvey Barnes sat there, Gabe, as well, who scored an amazing goal. You can't say that wasn't a good goal.
I won't say that. I promise I won't say
that. Who wants to take on this section? Has anyone done any preparation?
No,
These two have notes.
I think we can just kind of dynamically talk around it. And for me, I think Trossard's a kind of interesting one because he's been playing out of position as a striker for Brighton, and he's also taken a penalty recently, which is, if this was the case, if he was going to continue basically playing up front and also being penalties, his minutes have been more secure this season than they've been in previous seasons. Like he's completed 10, 90 minutes in the Premier League, so I think he's definitely one to watch in that kind of price range, although he is 6.5 million or 6.6 million, whatever it is now. But him and Bowen, for me, are jumping off the page. And then I think it's a straight-out battle between Smith Rowe and Gallagher. If you're looking for that, I know everybody a couple of weeks ago, they were interested in Bumo, and Jesus, I wish I didn't have him. Like, I wish I had one of these two boys, Gallagher and ESR. And if I had to pick one, I would probably pick Smith Rowe, if I'm being totally honest, because he's just so efficient with his shooting. And people are saying it's overproduction, and I don't think so. In terms of the eye test, Smith Rowe does it for me.
Fair enough. I'm pleased I just don't have to mention that Mr. M, Woodworkio, as I call him.
I almost bought him. He was going to be my
fucking shit.
I was going to bring him into that Norwich game, and I just kept waiting one more week, and then I was like, "Fuck this!"
I have him and Tony. And I'm ranked 12k. And if anybody looked at my team, they'd be like, "What the fuck's this boy on?"
Double Brentford. God. People were going triple Brentford. I remember.
They still have good fixtures.
Oh, I hate him.
I don't.
I think Raya was their main distributor.
I think they've got a good fixture, and then it starts to drop away. And
they got
Brentford, remember, are very much a home type of team rather than they're not so good away from home as well, which makes it another problem. So I think when we come on to the forwards, I think it's a bit of, I'm going to say it's a bit of a wasteland. I think it probably is at the moment. So interesting. Smith Rowe, I own Smith Rowe, thankfully. I like the look of Bowen in 16. Trossard's an interesting one. Really, Hibbo, Gabe, what's your perspective of this sort of region of? I suppose we spoke about Gallagher and Smith Rowe, but have you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I can't really figure out Bowen. I have to say, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I trust him to continue that. Just given that there are other options, and it does seem to have to move around from their front four there. I really like the Trossard show. It wouldn't be for me because I don't trust. I don't like Brighton's attack in general. But he is playing out of position, and he does look like he's a he's a focal point of like progressive passes when they go forward toward the box. But I agree. I think Gallagher and Smith Rowe are the standout options currently, right? In this and before that, we thought quite differently. I think this is like it's one of those areas that you have to catch it exactly at the right time. Otherwise, like I think if you've owned, for example, Tony and Mbumo for a long time this season, a lot of people even started with these players, right, at the beginning of the season, then you might be a little worn down from the players. But if you haven't owned them at all, you might be looking at them and seeing potentially at least a good fixture, and or even a couple of good fixtures, I think. Then you might be more interested. So I think that's going to be the case. They're going to be shifty, these players. Right now it's Gallagher and Smith Rowe. It could be Bowen and Trossard for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. Saka could come into the fold. Barnes, if he starts getting starts over Iheanacho madly, then Barnes could be a shout as well.
I mean, it's a bit difficult when we do this because we always have to split it at some point to rank people. Obviously, we could I'm sort of like turning 6.5 up more of like a mid price. You can shoot me if you want, but that's what I decided to do. But when we start talking about these higher priced assets, these slightly higher priced assets, then Jota and Bernardo, but he's now flagged as well, could rank at the top there when it comes to this production thing. But look who Rafinha, right down at the bottom, but there's only one reason for that, and that's Leeds fixture difficulty. But Rafinha, as Gabe and I spoke about on the VOD for the zonal matchups, let me get my words out, which is not being published yet because Gabe hasn't read it.
You put your teeth in this morning, Mariner.
You haven't watched it yet, so I would have published it yesterday. But because you didn't watch it, I can't publish it yet. So when that does get published, just a cheap plug for that one, by the way, if you actually change that fixture difficulty there for Rafinha from 19th to anything else, he goes right to the top. interestingly enough. So there's the talisman factor, right? What's the views on the mid price? Is Jota essential, Nima?
No, I don't think so. I was scrambling to get him. It sounds like Mane had got injured earlier in the international game, but it was just a kind of precautionary sub. So I think he'll be fine. He'll be ready for the Arsenal game to get his goal. For me, I do like the idea of Jota with Firmino out, but I think with this kind of Arsenal game and the way Arsenal have been defending lately, I would happily wait this one game out and hopefully get a more up-to-date prognosis on Firmino, because I already
He scores
did this
against Arsenal, though. He scores against Arsenal. He scores headers against Arsenal, right?
Who, Jota?
Yes.
All the midgets score headers against Arsenal, including Sterling as well. All the fucking dwarfs of the world. But anyway, so I don't. Those were our old defenders, not Gabriel and Ben White, who bodied a fool. But
I'm a midget. Do you not know I'm a midget?
I guess none of us have met in real life, so it's tough to know. Like we haven't seen like us lined up in a scaling order.
I take serious offence as part of the midget
Do you reckon
community.
you're the shortest four of us?
The offense is that they actually prefer to be called little people, from what I know, and that's a derogatory word. What you're saying?
I don't think they're going to take offense, but if they do, it is international break after all. It is the time of beefs and Christmas beefs, especially.
Christmas beef. You can't beat a good tomahawk steak at Christmas. Right. I'm going to bring another subject up now. Obviously, we mentioned it on the VOD, Gabe, which will eventually get published, as I said. Rafinha.
Watch it.
Rafinha. Buy, sell, hold. Let's go down. Hibbo.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about Rafinha. Looking at your data, across most of the fields here, he's kind of like first and second, and obviously it's the FDR that drags him down. But when we look at his stats, despite kind of reduced minutes compared to some of his competitors, he ranks fourth amongst all players in the league this season for shots. So he has 35 shots, and he's just behind Salah, Mane, and Antonio. So you're talking 5 goals and 10 appearances. It's an amazing return. And if you think about earlier in the season, he did have these kind of injury worries where he was coming off around the 60-minute mark. So his production was maybe affected by his capability, I suppose, in terms of his injuries. He seems to have now gone past that. And in the FPL community in the past week, people have been talking about, I suppose, the production of Leeds. Rafinha's production without Bamford has kind of been a big thing that they've been talking about. And I think really he's become the big talisman for Leeds. And I ran this. This was a really weird stat, but I ran a stat comparison. So I looked at game week 1 to 5. So this was with Bamford versus game week 6 to 11. This was without. And in both kind of samples, he played 5 games. And the biggest takeaway was that Rafinha's kind of breaking defensive lines by running with the ball more than ever. So his dribbles have increased from 22 to 45. And his successful dribbles, so he's almost doubled his dribbles. And his successful dribbles have went from 5 to 23. Which I just think is absolutely incredible. And he's kind of operating nearly further forward, almost like nearly like a striker. At times he's been Leeds' furthest forward player because of the fact that Bamford's out. So I don't really agree with this kind of narrative that he's worse without Bamford. And then people are looking at the fixtures and they're saying Spurs, Brighton, Palace. I know it gets a lot worse after that. They've got Chelsea and so on and so forth. But if you're looking at Spurs, I don't think Conte's number one. I don't think he's had enough time with the squad. And I think, from experience, I suppose, football-wise, I think implementing a back three is difficult. And the way they're putting it about, Reguilón's going to play very high on the left-hand side. And I think Baker talked about it in the pod above average, that he thinks that Rafinha against Ben Davies is going to be an absolute mismatch in terms of a 1v1. Brighton, Palace, Spurs, when we look at those guys, have had 4 clean sheets this season, which isn't amazing. Brentford have only kept 3. So I think that's a lot of fixtures right through to game week 16. I think Rafinha's possibly still a hold. And I think a lot of the narrative that we're seeing in the community is down to what people can do with their own teams. They're maybe looking at the long term and thinking, over the next 10 game weeks, I think Rafinha can do stuff against these teams.
Well, he's a hold for me. He's not going anywhere. Nima?
I think so.
I'm keeping him till I reckon at least game week 15.
Same.
I think these next 3 that Hibbo listed out, they're fine for me. But there is a real temptation to get Bowen for him around game week 15, 16. There is a temptation there because you got to remember I have the wild card still. So for me, the idea of selling Rafinha is to sell him and buy him back. If I didn't have a wild card, I probably would just keep him for the whole season. I reckon.
I am tempted to consider selling him around game week 16. So I've thought about that at the back of my mind. Gabe, you're thinking about buying him.
Yep. I think he's a buy. I think he's a season hold. Just his price is just insane. It's 6.5. That kind of value, and I think that the matchup against Spurs, like Hibbo was saying, is really tasty. Even maybe more than with Nuno. So, but I love him this week. He may come in for me this week if I don't save a transfer. But I think he's one of the best assets in the game.
But I think Rafinha is very much an eye-test player, and if you were to look at his data and you were to look at his XG, I think his XG is about, off the top of my head, is about 2.7 or 2.8 or something like that, and he scored the 5 goals. But he's hitting a lot of shots from outside the box, and shots from outside the box are low XG shots, and he's scoring goals from outside the box. I think maybe 3 of his goals have been outside the box. So, again, Rafinha for me is very much an eye-test player, and when you look at what he's done, who's the last Leeds player to play for Brazil? Let's break it down and bring it back to that. He's in the Brazilian national team, and he's not like some kind of also ran. He should be on that team. He's good enough to be on that team. He's good enough to be playing for a top 4 side, in my opinion, and starting for a Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, United, whoever you want. He could be playing for any one of them teams. So I think if Rafinha, if you tried to frame it a different way and you put him on one of those teams and you priced him at 8 million, people would probably own him, so I don't really know why they're jumping off at 6.5.
Do you know what? I reckon people would own him. I reckon people would own him at 9 million.
It doesn't make sense to me. Everybody's, I think it suits their narrative because people wanted to buy a Jota, they wanted to buy a Son, so they've kind of created this narrative. And I heard it in the space during the week. Somebody says, I think it was that FPL Bruno guy. He says, "Take the points and run." I thought, what the fuck are you talking about?
The back 9 points.
It's not pick up points and run. This guy's going to score points all season.
He's a great option. No, he's an amazing option. I think that's great. Thanks for the prep there, Hibbo. It's really, really useful. Should we have a look at the premiums now then? Let's just move up. So I've put Foden actually sits in that bracket because it's just basically above. I went above 8 million, but again, shoot me if you want to. But Salah's obviously top. We don't need to talk about him. Mane second. Possibly flagged, but maybe not. Foden sitting there third worries me. I don't own him. They've got a good run of fixtures coming up. That it's almost like I've got to choose between Foden or Son possibly for that slot if I'm doing something. De Bruyne, Havertz, Bruno, and Son sat flat bottom, but with a poor fixture difficulty, which would pull him up a little bit, but not a long way. What's your views here? I'm going to come to who I've not been to for a while. Gabe, what's your view on? Come on, what's your view on this? I know what Hibbo's going to say about Son, so I want to come to you for a change.
Well, I do want to get the kind of the Spurs conversation going with Son because I think that's a popular one these days in the community. And I've heard just in terms of structure, right? I want to address one point in terms of structure when it comes to the Spurs assets. Before I do that, let me just comment specifically on the midfielders. I mean, Salah's obvious. I think Foden. I'd like to see if Foden's going to stay at the 9. And somebody was mentioning, and I don't remember who it was, that he's actually better on the left-hand side. That certainly for fantasy than he would be at the 9. Because he has more space and he likes to come and get around, and also that would be better for Cancelo. I don't know about that yet, and I don't know if Foden's going to remain there. How long is Ferran Torres out? Is he out for
January? Maybe
till January.
He's out for another good while.
So I think at 8.3 million. I think he will be rotation prone. So I think that's stretching it a little bit too much for me. I would prefer value in a player like Rafinha. But Salah's obvious. And then we get to Son. And Son I think is a great way to get into the idea that, or the belief that Conte will turn Spurs around. To get into that belief early, if you get in there early, right? For example, I already have Son, and I expect I expect a return this game week, but I expect Conte to turn this team around at least somewhat very, very soon. And when he does, I expect both Son and Kane to really fire. When you look at Conte's teams in the past, what's that?
You were slagging him off pre-show.
I will. I'm not. Don't worry. Well, but that's why this is the reason why I think it's good to get one of the Spurs assets early, and I think Son is the one to get early because it's minimized risk. When he's cheaper, so he's easier to fit into your team. But here's where I'll say about Kane. I hear a lot of people saying, "Well, I need to maintain this structure. I need to maintain with a premium up front, so I can easily move to Kane later, right?" And then in the same
Ronaldo,
sense, maybe Ronaldo or someone like that, or Vardy. There's a lot of people that are holding Vardy, for example, that may want to move to Kane, right? And then, but they also say, well, since I'm already in this structure, I might as well move to Kane. And that's a little bit circular reasoning there. It's like, well, I'm going to make my team in this structure so I can get to Kane, but since my team is in this structure, I might as well go to Kane. Right? It's because you put your team in that structure, and these are the kind of decisions we're making as managers as far as the structure of your team. You could, if you have a Spurs player right already, you could probably get to Kane in 2 moves.
Yeah, but that's 2 moves.
2 moves.
I mean, that's the whole point. The whole point of it is the fact. Nima, you're muted. But the whole point is that when we're looking at premiums, and we will at the moment, we can probably survive with Salah just sat there, just perma captaining, and it doesn't really affect. Owning Kane, you're probably not going to captain him apart from 1 week, maybe game week 15. Is it? That's it.
Norwich.
And then I think I'd be looking at moving off him. So
no, this week I'm captaining a Spurs player, but I don't know which one I'm buying.
There's
no way I'm captaining Salah against Arsenal. It's less of a sin to captain a Spurs
player. He
player.
got biased for fuck's sake.
What's your rank tank?
Watch Salah blank. That rhymes.
He scored a hat-trick.
No, but Mary, my point was that it's something to move on as a differential to have when Conte's team starts to hit against really poor opposition, to have a differential in having a way to have both of them in. If you don't have one of them early, then getting them both could be very difficult. And then that wouldn't be a differential for you, but I'm saying that could be a way to kind of maximize Conte's impact against maybe some nice fixtures.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to shout out what James from Planet FPL said last night on Penguin stream, which I guested on. He said to me, and I was talking about my team, and at the moment I've got Vardy. And he said to me, if you don't sell Vardy this week, you won't sell it. You shouldn't sell him. So you've got to think about selling him this week for Kane or not, or then you hold.
Yeah,
Why
if
would
I
you
keep
sell him
Vardy
beyond
this
that
week,
point?
it'd be ludicrous to sell him after.
Yes. So if you're going to go on Kane, I've got to go this week for sure, almost certainly.
I think so. I just want to say something, Mariner. I agree with the haulers calling you out for somehow putting Foden with the premiums and Havertz as well. What the fuck Havertz is doing there, I don't know. But
well, you can do the slides next time. And in fact, they can do the slides next time.
No, but I think like surely they're mid-price mids, like they're fucking 8 mil, man. Like
I'd like to make a point from like a structure point of view, just to kind of tack on to what Gabe's been saying there. So I know there's a lot of kind of chat in the community at the minute where people are talking about. Now, I'm not saying Kane's the right move or the wrong move, or Son's the right move or the wrong move, but people at the minute are saying, I want to get Kane because I can move to Ronaldo easily and my structure and blah, blah, blah. You could move to Son now and move to Ronaldo in game week 16. Like, what's the fucking problem with it? And it's like, I started thinking this myself, like, whereas I'm trying to kind of ponder through my transfers and thinking, what way am I going to go about this? And I'm thinking, well, do I need to kind of drive myself down the route of getting Kane now just because I want to get maybe potentially Ronaldo? And like maybe come game week 16, Ronaldo's going to be injured. There's too many variables here, and I don't really know if that kind of thinking is necessarily the right way to go. Now, Kane could pop off, of course, Son could pop off, but myself personally, I haven't decided which way I could go. I think your FDR is drunk, by the way, because I do rate the Spurs fixtures over the next 4 as very fucking good.
They're just
Everybody-
so bloody bad. That's why they've been
I
so
know.
bad. That's the
I-
reason.
I know, and we've talked about this with the FDR, whereas like I can't take into account the fact that Conte's now taking people off the red sauce and mayonnaise and stuff like that. And these boys are going to start performing high level because they don't eat pizza.
No.
I think you need at least one Spurs player, and we've got a big decision this week. But I do think lots of it feeds back on are you going to captain Kane? Is it going to stress out the other points of your team if you do get Kane? For me, it would probably be a better fit if I went for Son, being totally honest. It
So
looks
what do you
better.
think about this, Hibbo? What do you think about, say, this week, someone like me, I can do Saka and Vardy to Son and Wilson, or I can just do Vardy to Kane and roll a free transfer and have 2 free transfers next week?
Fuck, Vardy to Kane, no brainer.
It feels like it, right? And even if I don't captain Kane, because it is a ludicrous idea, as you say, like I will benefit from owning Kane regardless, and I can only lose from not captaining Salah for every point he gets. And I'd rather captain Salah and he blanks and Kane gets 15 points and I don't captain him. But we'll see. I might still captain Kane.
But you can obviously get the Kane because you've Livermento and White in defence. Is that right?
Yeah, and have money in the bank. Yeah.
That's why. So
But then I also have 2 transfers next week, so then I could then, if I want to, get to Son as well and double up for that spell that you're talking about, and then wildcard out of it.
I would 100% if I was you do Vardy to Kane, if I'm being totally honest. If I could get the Kane and that kind of easy move, I would do it. And
I can't. I'd have to still. Because I can't. I told you in pre-show here before Mr. Light turned up in the corner. John Terry, another one. I'm keeping going at you. You haven't called me die yet. I'm waiting for this. I can't get to Kane with one move.
Couple of weeks you'll be there.
I'm priced out. I'm bloody priced out from Vardy to Kane. I checked earlier. Couldn't believe it.
By how much?
0.1.
You
0.1 bastard.
You let that price change, buddy. You let the price go.
Anyway, we'll have to decide on this. A great topic, and I think we'll carry on speaking. I think this Spurs topic's going to run. I actually think you're right on the fixture difficulty, Hibbo. I think it's not picking the fixtures, but saying that Spurs have just been so bloody bad, and I think that's probably the reason why it's thinking about it. Bungle, what's he saying? A ketchup ban will stop them being Spursy.
They also banned something called Sky Sauce. I don't even know what the fuck Sky Sauce is. Did you hear that?
Sugar and salt.
What?
Is it? What is it?
Something like that. I don't know. The Sky sauce.
I think the point is that all of these are condiments that go on fried food.
All right.
I think
So
that's
no
a
double
commonality.
carbs, Luke Shaw.
I don't wear condiments.
the Luke Shaw diet.
Boys, can we fly through the
Let's go through them
forward?
and go to the live questions.
Let's fly through the forwards because I mean, for
there aren't
me, I
any.
mean,
They suck.
there aren't many. There's Hwang, I suppose. I think if you don't own Jimenez, Hwang's an option. Sits top of the ranks there, but Armstrong, you know, for me, I'm in deep trouble in Mariner's household because Mrs. sold Armstrong for Breuer.
You're a snake.
I sold Armstrong for Tony.
So, and then we've got the Watford duo in King and Dennis. It's quite surprising. Their numbers are really, really good, but yet they
No, I'd go for Pookie under a new manager. I would go Pookie over them any day.
I'd go for
New
King.
manager.
I would go for King.
King.
You guys
Of
just
those
said
options, I would go for King.
19 points in a single game week 2 years ago. Sentimental mofos.
Right, enough of that.
I don't remember what happened last week in FPL, and let alone 2 years ago, man. I don't remember stuff like that.
You're not in the beach yet. You're doing well.
Right.
Go ahead.
Sorry, carry on, Gabe.
I'm sorry,
No,
let's
go
go
ahead.
link
You
to
can
the
move on.
sergeant on here. Like, I can't take this slide seriously. Let's just go.
Oh,
to
it's
the
bullshit.
Yeah,
That's
you
why.
can move on.
That's
You can
why.
move on.
Sergeant.
That's why he even covered part of his slide. That's why he even
Just
covered part of his slide as well. There we go. Next, mid-price.
This
Let's
is
keep
just
going,
as
shall
bad.
we?
This is just as bad.
Jimenez top. Shut up. Let's get on with this. We need to get to the questions. Jimenez tops, Nacho, Benteke. But now, come on. Is Benteke really crap, as you think, babe? Oh, shut up, you. I don't want or or if you ask Surya, our friend from All About FPL, who has jumped on the Benteke bandwagon a couple of times in the last season or two and done very well out of it, thank you very much. His numbers, his underlying numbers are outstanding, as my tweet showed yesterday. But is the underperformance the fact that I'm afraid he's not very good? What's your views on this area? I mean, Gabe, I think I know where you're going to go, so I'm going to come to you first, and then I'll move up the screen.
I mean, I would start this section saying mid-price forwards. Jimenez tops the bunch. Enough said.
All right.
That's how bad it is. Benteke is going to underperform. If you look at his career, it's a career of underperforming, right? Because he's not very good.
He only performs when it's a contract renewal year.
And it's not.
Yeah, exactly. He got the contract.
But I mean, I don't know. Surya banged with Benteke last season. It could happen again, but there's absolutely no way.
Man, in a double game week, never again. Never trust that fraud again. I brought him in for good fixtures, and he was trash.
No,
I'm a Palace man, so like fuck.
I'm sure pre-season we called him out as well because his numbers on the basis of the minutes played last year, and they were returns basically against the number of minutes played, were very good. So there's something there.
Well, I don't like his minutes. I'd rather Edward.
He's not.
I'd rather Zaha. No. I'd rather Gallagher. Like I'd rather most of their attack apart from him.
I think Callum Wilson is interesting on this list. I think he's one of the most interesting. Certainly, the reconnecting with Eddie Howe and how he is a talisman for goals. And I think Saint-Maximin is somebody to watch because he's
as an affordable alternative.
As an alternative, and maybe even as if. Let's just see where he plays and what Eddie Howe can do with him, because he could be the creative hub of the team. And if Callum Wilson is used to kind of stretch the lines, and Saint-Maximin could maybe get some action there, just somebody to watch. But initially, I wouldn't mind getting in Callum Wilson. I think he's a good asset to bring in.
I think Wilson has been involved in 73% of Newcastle's goals while he's
that goal involvement is ridiculous.
Hold on. I've spoke to you about this before. What's 73% of 2 goals?
4 goals. 4 goals is 3 goals, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
it's like 73% of FO.
Somebody
but Howe's gonna try and lose games 5-3 and shit, and Wilson's gonna get a hat trick.
Somebody rolled that stat out on Twitter one day, and I thought, like, this is like.
We all use stats that just basically agree with whatever we say. No one really should believe any stat they read on Twitter, because it's been like literally. I know when I write my article, I will decide what I want to say, and then I will literally edit the stat till it says what I fucking want to say. That's what every content creator is doing. Where they're lying to you, they're chatting shit.
I reckon we should ban him out the content creator. I think we should ban him out the content creators click for saying things like that.
Under what? You guys tried to leave a content creators group chat because you didn't agree with content creators' opinions. At least I fucking engaged with them, guys.
We won't go there, but let's not get into that one.
Now we're backstage.
That's a backstage conversation.
Oh, man.
Those reasons might be disputed.
Let's try and refocus, shall we? Says Da. Okay, so we've pretty much blown my Benteke bandwagon off the tracks. Callum Wilson. I mean, really? Actually, I'm not dismissing Callum Wilson as an option. I'm really not. But Callum Wilson would be in for a few weeks, and then I'd wipe him out.
Just 4 weeks and then out. He's a transfer out.
In and out. 100%. In and out. And no doubt during that 4-week period, he will bloody troll me for sure. Two.
Troll him. Don't get him during the fixture crunch. Maybe don't get him during the fixture crunch.
His leg will fall off. That's a good point. Forwards, premiums, Vardy. Oh, God. Kane. I mean, look, is it just me? Or am I the only person who can never get a Vardy haul, ever? Anytime I have ever owned him, he's shite. What is going on with him? This is my rant of the day. He drives me completely mad.
I joined
and you know what's going to
up,
happen if I sell him for Kane this week, and I'll have to make 2 moves to
I'm
do it.
selling him this week, and he's definitely
and
scoring.
you watch what happens.
He's wiping out the Chelsea clean sheet as soon as we sell him. The moment we press sell.
I saw these rankings and I just thought I'm selling like Vardy this week, and he's like ranked first.
I'm selling him.
And I can't wait to sell him because he's just been so shit for me. Like he's been.
He has been awful, hasn't he? He's been awful. I mean, it's just been so bad. Interestingly enough, Antonio smashed this Grange out of the park on the first. If we were the first international break, if you remember, he was top for everything. He's not now. Look.
Not anymore.
No.
But he'll be back. The king will be back to reclaim his throne.
That was right before the -1, right?
When you captained him, yeah.
I'm just going to say, I mean, look, I do consistently take the piss out of Arsenal, as you know, but I'm not going to on this occasion. If I change that fixture difficulty, Aubameyang would go a long way up that rank.
He's more nailed than I thought he would be in the striker position these days. Even when Laka plays, it doesn't feel like Laka's playing up top. Laka's kind of dropping deep and playing the playmaker role where Odegaard would sit. So I'd say one thing about Aubameyang, and I think your FDR spelt it out perfectly, actually, just from what I've seen from an eye test. Oba at home is a different beast. I think Oba at home is captaincy material. Those who had him last week, he had an offside goal, I think. He assisted an offside goal. He had a missed penalty. On a different day, that's a fucking huge haul. Oba at home this season has been one of our best players, I think. And not just from an attacking perspective, just everything he's doing, his pressing, leading the press. He's playing phenomenally at home. Away from home, both him and Arsenal, they're a bit lackluster.
His penalty was awful.
I said he was going to miss it. I was with my friend in Barcelona. I was in front of Sagrada Familia, Hibbo, and I was standing in the park having a drink.
As you do.
And I see him on my phone, and I'm like, oh, I went to an Irish pub. They said their Sky Sports license, and they'd been told they'd not paid, so they couldn't show the game or some shit. And I was like, fucking hell, I'm going to watch it on my phone. So I'm standing there in front of the Sagrada Familia now, and I'm with everyone. I'm with Jazz. I'm with my friend Florian. I'm like, nah, he's going to miss it. And I thought of you, Hibbo, because he missed a penalty recently, and you said that you thought he was going to miss that one too. And as soon as I saw him step up, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
He never looks confident. He like
it was that breath.
He puts a ball in, and then he goes.
Before he takes the fucking penalty, like he scored one today for Gabon. He Instagrammed it and tweeted it and was like, "Oh, like if you miss one, you keep trying and you get the next one." I'm like, "You fucking prick! You fucked my Sky team."
Someone taking the piss out of me in the chat. Someone just said Chris supports a pub team, but Chris supports a pub team, but who do the rest of you support? So I've just told Bungle to block him.
Who was that?
Is Newcastle a pub team?
Has
the message already been blocked? Because I know he was. Ant. No, Ant's a regular.
He's a regular. He's
taking the piss out of me. That's all.
Why are you trying to block a regular?
We love him really. Yeah, we love him really.
Look, at least you don't have brown curtains anymore.
No, because I've turned the desk round now. But I've also, I don't know if you've noticed, I've also got one of these up and down desks now. So instead of doing the Joe Linton collapse, I just have to do this nowadays. Look, right? Shall I do the next show? Shall I do it?
I need one of them to boost myself up.
It's good actually because you lose weight when you stand up all day. Did you know? You burn more calories.
You burn a lot more calories. Yeah.
It's not helped for me so far though.
You need to get back out onto the golf.
Should we take some questions? I was going to do a premium slide.
We should. We've spoken about it anyway. I think you need to go out of that view because when you put the questions, they cover Gabe's face.
Yeah, we will do. I was just going to put it onto the screen there. Yeah, what am I doing?
I'm sure there wouldn't be any complaints.
This one.
Right.
Oh, your face looks great.
So what questions have we got then? We've got. Should we do 10 minutes of questions and get out one hour 50? So, what questions have we got? Anyone see any, or is it just all just general?
I was going to say hi to Andy Mack, my fellow nameless one, undefeated in the Scout Community Tournament. So I know it's not the same for you guys out there, but we're the only undefeated team. Everyone's trying to beat us.
No. We're undefeated. We're undefeated, but you have a 100% record.
Oh, sorry. Okay. We're just 100% winners. All we do is win.
Clip it.
We'll get back to the questions.
Well, I was going to say there's just this tumbleweed moment. I could have played the tumbleweed thing there, and that would have been perfect after you doing that.
It would have. So we've got after Watford is a good time to sell Vardy. That's not a question. Away for the lads. I thought it was away.
How away the lads? How
Away
away
the
the
lads.
lads? How away the lads from Aussie Sharks?
How away the lads?
Interesting. Have we got any questions then, or is it just all
a couple of questions coming on now.
General bullshit, just as usual in the chat?
That is a real question from regular Nehal.
What to do with Havertz? Sell him.
You keep for this week, right?
He's
You
got
keep
a
for the
thigh
next.
strain, right? So he's probably being rested.
He's flagged, isn't he? He's flagged, isn't he? Or he's not.
I think he's getting
There's a
rested,
rumor
but-
he's injured.
Yeah, like he's missing.
Germany's fine. That Germany doesn't need him, so
Yeah.
you know it could be one of those fake injuries, and he has at least one more match. Nothing yet. I'm holding him for one more game.
I would hold him at least 1 week.
Yeah, cool. Agreed.
Soothsayer. So I have Vardy and Mount at the
Sorry.
Andy Martin.
Andy Martin's flexing here because he's seeing 2 FTs, Smith Rowe, nobody, Jota and Kane. Like this is like the biggest no-brainer of all time, surely.
And they're both players that you don't even need to sell. So it's like 2 luxury transfers with no other buyers.
Do it.
And he's at a fucking insane rank.
Do it.
Do it.
Let's put some money in the bank then. Clearly,
selling Smith Rowe.
Yeah, I would for Jota.
I would.
I mean, is there someone else that I guess is there another way?
Who else he has?
Yeah.
He's clearly got plenty of money.
It's because he's got Rafinha and he can't sell him. He just can't do that to himself as a Leeds man.
And would it make more sense to go down from Alba and Smith? Can you get to Son from Smith Rowe? Probably not, huh?
I would have to remortgage me.
I think Son and Wilson he could do, but I don't know like what's going on. Like the Wilson bandwagon's derailing once Kane got that hat trick.
Against Albania in an
against
international.
Albania. The Albanian elite. Gallagher or Zaha, if money is no object from Ant.
Gallagher.
Yeah.
I think
I just think the numbers are there for Gallagher and he's cheaper, right? So you can invest that money elsewhere.
The money's never no object because you're going to need the money in 2 weeks' time. You know, is the way I see a transfer like that. So if Gallagher's doing his stuff now, I would keep Gallagher and have the money for 3 weeks' time. You know, it's
Jesus instead of the Kane and Vardy route from Harry.
Definitely not.
Yes.
Oh, yes and no. Oh, debate. Excellent. You like that one, Gabe, do you?
I do. I think
like well.
if we look at the City have some nice upcoming fixtures for a while, right? And Jesus seems to have cemented his role at least in on that right hand side. So I think he's a sneaky pick. He's cheaper than the other two. I think he could provide good value for money compared to the other two.
It's an interesting.
Yeah, no, I like Jesus. I think if you can do like Jesus and Son, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
With the extra 2 million you save from Kane, but if it's just you're getting Jesus and then
you're not going for any Spurs.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that. But I think
you
if
need
you could find a way to do Jesus and Son, then I think that's possibly a decent. I'm going to look at that structure when we finish this show.
Now I'm going to do it like 2 a.m. in the morning.
You all said no to start. Yeah, that's good.
Well, no, I didn't say no. I kept quiet. But...
okay. So Vardy and Havertz for Kane and Jota. Not sure on Spurs at the moment. Maybe Wilson.
No brainer.
No, I think I'd be getting a Spurs player.
Yes.
Havertz to Jota. Your cat for a moment sounded like someone being tortured in a dungeon.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. I can hear him.
Right.
I also remember the times you got told off by the wife for kicking him out. I don't want to get you done with the NSPCA, RSPCA. I don't know which one's kids and which one's animals.
They
But,
don't have that in Singapore.
oh, they don't. Yeah, they just have anti-gambling. It's illegal.
He's come in for his
Hence why we use
breakfast.
this channel.
He's come in for his breakfast because he's been outside meowing for ages. So
Lousy, hey.
Havertz to Jota.
Net that whole Havertz to Jota. Not this week for me personally.
I think he could wait until post Arsenal and Jota, if I'm being totally honest.
And
Agreed.
similar to Debil's question, prioritize Spurs or Jota this week. Spurs
Spurs.
all day long.
Spurs.
CR7 to Kane and back to CR7. I would just keep CR7 at this point and try to get
Who did they
Son.
play? Watford this week?
yeah, Watford this
Yeah,
week.
I would captain CR7.
Very good, very good matchup.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going to Kane this week from Ronaldo. No fucking way. Like,
No,
I
not with what
definitely
we've
not.
seen. No.
But
All the questions are the same. It's basically like, should I get Son or should I get Kane? That's basically the
which is
that's
fine.
the decision of
Hopefully,
this
we
game
managed to
week,
cover
like-
a bit of it off. So yeah,
I
Havertz
think
to
for
Son.
Red or Dead, 69 especially. I think I'm gonna try go for Vardy to Kane. I can see the appeal in ditching Havertz if you had him. I don't have Havertz. He is probably a sell soon, if not this week. You can give him this week. I think against Leicester. There are rumours though, right, of Lukaku being back and ready for that match, and I do wonder what that means for Havertz if that's better for him. I don't know.
Well,
if
he may lose his spot. But this question: so Havertz to Son, Havertz to Jota, or Vardy to Kane. If you could do either one of
It just feels like it's Havertz
Vardy,
to Son. I think.
I'd be interested to know if he could do Vardy to Kane and Havertz to Jota the week after. If he could do that, I would probably do that.
That would be slick, yeah.
Yeah.
Gaza, Vardy out, Kane in, Havertz out, Jota in, Havertz outside. I'm telling you, these are literally all the same variation. It's basically like, should I get Wilson? Should I get Son? Should I get Kane? Should I get Jota?
You're probably
That's
not
like
going to be
the
able. You're probably not going to be able to slag anyone off on the Compass show for strange transfer moves next week. 'Cause everyone's going to be doing the same thing.
The same move. Those are the 4 players everyone's going to buy, and the other one was Reece James. But now that he's flagged, they'll sell him because that's how the market works. Have you seen Livramento start being sold the moment he got a flag?
You've contemplated. You haven't wildcarded yet, Nima, yet, have you?
I was going to wildcard into people who were talking about the swing.
I was just wondering if you're seeing all these same moves when this market picks back up again. Are you going to jump on a big price hike?
I'm thinking to wildcard in the final week that you can in game week 20 and just press the button live on air.
He's going to burn his wildcard for rank.
What?
I'm just not going to play the first one.
You can't do that.
You can if you burn your wildcard, you jump up 1,000 places. I'm making that up, by the way.
Yeah, he's making no shit.
No, I think I will use it, but I just don't see any need. Like, if I'm gonna do Vardy to Kane and roll a fucking transfer this week, and I got 2 transfers again in 13, like, when the fuck am I gonna wildcard?
You've got some serious patience, man. I'm telling you, you've got patience like I've never fucking seen in my life. And it's like, you know, I agree with you because looking at your team, I don't think you need the wildcard either. You know,
It just keeps getting kicked down the road, and I genuinely think I might come to like that crunch period around Christmas, and like suddenly like 5 of everyone's 11 template players will be suspended or injured, and I'll just pull out this random fucking wildcard to save my ass.
Well, I mean, fair play if you've still got it intact, but you said there's going to be some quite rapid moves on 1 or 2 players.
I've had a lot of red arrows by holding it, that's for sure.
Don't be so stubborn.
Yeah,
I'm changing my team name to the Green Arrow Express.
10 green arrows.
Someone
They should be
called
singing
me
that
out.
Red Balloon
Someone
song
called
about
me
it.
out last night on that show I was on Penguin Show, and said I'm behind Hibbo. I said I'm not. I'm in front of him.
Because you
I'm
flipped
not sure
that.
for how many more weeks though. I think you're catching me fast. I think you'll be overtaking me soon.
You flipped that return from Smith Rowe.
Well, I could either. Well, if I hadn't bloody played him this week, it would have been Another return. I mean, I've so many points I've lost from him. It's ridiculous.
My favorite part of the Arsenal match was the first goal by Saka that was ruled out to offside.
I was fucking crying. I was celebrating like
Smith Rowe and Saka slid down to the corner and posed for a fucking photograph. And then it was ruled out to offside. I was like, boys, like, do you not know the offside rule? The fucking keeper was out at the fucking.
It was way offside from the very beginning. It was so obvious.
I blame Obba, man. Like, his first touch was weak that
Awful.
game.
Awful.
Look, it's nowhere near as good as Ayling. Luke Ayling's offside goal celebration was fucking insane. Pulled his hairband off, did the electric guitar, like. Oh my god!
Well, he hadn't scored for. I mean, was that the one before he got his return? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh god!
Have we got any more questions, guys?
We have so many that we've not answered. Antonio hard hold, Mbeumo hold or sell. Let's do both of those rapid fire.
My phone's ringing. I've got work calls coming through.
I'm just fucking with you guys.
Mariners workday starting.
Well, Antonio hold.
Not a hard hold though.
Hard hold, no.
If you can buy him back in 18,
soft hold.
Yeah. Nima, carry on. Nima, take over.
If you can buy him back in 18, you can sell. But I'm holding. Mbeumo sell. Can we expect new manager bounces? I want to know who the Norwich manager is. As I said, I think Pukki's a better shout than Benteke.
Lampard's ruled himself out. It sounds as if Lampard's going to Rangers.
It does. But I think it's also because he didn't like it that he wasn't their first choice and they wanted Dean. So he was actually a bit upset and he didn't want to wait around for like Norwich to make an offer and they didn't want him as first choice. So he said, fuck you. So that's a bit tough on him. We've lost Mariner. He'll be back. Jesus, Jota, Foden. I love all three. I think that was based on the earlier conversation we're having.
Yeah.
Kane or Son or Jota with 2 free transfers. I'd be going for one of the Spurs boys now rather than Jota.
Agreed.
What part of Northern Ireland are you from, Hibbo?
Derry, but I don't call it Northern Ireland.
I was going to say I wouldn't call it Northern Ireland. Would you see yourself as more Republic of Ireland?
We just call it Ireland.
Yeah, you're just Ireland, yeah. Are we all on Salah perma captain yourself? I was. This week I might captain Kane if I buy him.
I think it's changing a bit. Do you know, because every week that he doesn't produce, like, you're going to kind of get closer to saying, well, are we going to finally back against this guy? And I think when you start to see these Spurs fixtures come on, if Kane hacks up against Leeds, and I think people might start thinking about differently. I think it just depends, but I do think that in the next few weeks, we're going to see people backing against it because you're not going to back Salah if he scores 5 points every week. I think it will change at some point in the near future. I was one of the people that wrote about permacapping, and I do think it could change.
I would do it just for EO to protect myself, but like when you think of like Kane, I think he was like 10% EO and Son was 18% last week. They might both go up to say 25 to 30% after all the transfers in this week. You captain one of them, you're getting 200% of their points. Salah, he will probably still be like 150% plus. So you don't captain him, you're losing half the points he gets, even though you own him. I can see why you might perma captain Salah if you're already doing well in rank and you just want to kind of protect yourself because you're going to benefit from Son or Kane regardless this week. And then in future weeks, maybe game week 15, you mentioned, that's another opportunity to not captain Salah. But I think outside of this week and 15, I do see the appeal in Salah every week just because of the EO play. But some people don't give a shit about EO. So
I see the appeal as long as Salah maintains its current form. I don't think Son or Kane can match Salah's form, and I think Liverpool's fixtures are fine as well. And fixtures Salah has proven that fixtures are irrelevant to him this season. So I think Salah's an easy permacat until and I agree with Hibbo until his form dips. Nobody can maintain this kind of form right for forever. So that moment will come and then it'll be more of a conversation. But until then, it's got to be Salah for me.
I think you very much have to pick your spot with this, like, because you're not going to take him on at any point in the near future. It's going to have to take somebody really stand out with a really good fixture for you to back against them at the minute because his EO, like, I would like to say, look, make the play without really considering EO, but I don't really think he can in this case because most weeks you're backing against 200% of Salah. So if he goes out and scores 20 points, which he's done, he's done big points against Man City, he's done big points against Chelsea, he's done big points against United. He can do them against anybody in the league, and I don't think it's wise to be giving up like 200% of Salah whenever you're just going to get rid hard. Like, you know, it's just that's fucking good. Like, I know a guy. I know
for my appetite.
I know a guy that plays in a league with me, and he like never picks a conventional captain. And every week he asks me, "Who should I captain this week?" And I say, "Salah, point blank." And then last week he captained Tony. Why, like, why is he captain? Mickey O'Kane, I'm calling you out. You're captaining fucking Ivan Tony, son.
Oh god, guys! I feel like we're like 8 minutes behind on the questions because I've pulled up a question from 12:24 and it's 12:34.
We'll have to do these rapid fire because we need to be out of here in about. And I've got work problems, so I'm gonna have to dive off. I might have to dive off again yet.
Don't worry, I think we're all going in 5 minutes. So let's just get through as many as we can. I don't want to miss any more. So I think there's maybe 4 or 5 questions left.
Right, which ones we got then?
Good man, Hibbo Derry beat Sligo tonight. Yo-ho, let's go, boys.
That's not even a question. That's just Irish football.
Not even a question. Are you drunk?
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, almost the same time of night, right? Come on, let's dive in these questions fast.
What wait, by the way, Andy Martin. Yeah, man, I love that shit. That was like my wild card last year. It was game week 16. It was like between Boxing Day and Christmas. And like I had like 36 hours to pull out a wild card. I wrote my first ever article on all about FPL. And it got fucking 10,000 hits in 24 hours. That's how I became co-editor, bitch.
If this is the first time you've ever come across Net That Hole, boys, this is how we roll.
I'm sorry, this is not how we roll. Like, I'm not normally this drunk because I normally go live 3-4 hours earlier.
Come on, give us some questions or else I'm going to have to take over.
No, there's some good questions. So, is Tony a fraud?
Oh,
is Tony a fraud? No, he's
yes,
not.
Tony is a fraud. Yes, next question.
No, he's not. He's not a fraud.
He's a good player, but
he's just doing what I expected him to do and not return as much as people thought he would.
Right, rapid fire here.
For a reason.
Are James, Trent, Chilwell, Cancelo long-term holds? Yes.
Yes.
Next.
Wilson and Son versus Kane and ESR.
Ouch.
Wilson and Son. Wilson and Son for me.
Don't say that because that's the move I can make to sell Saka and Vardy.
Wilson and Son 100%. It almost comes down to we know so little about Spurs. Son versus Kane. I don't think we know which one's going to be better. So it's Wilson versus ESR, and I trust Wilson as more of a talisman, even if they only score 4 goals. Hibbo.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can't argue with that.
I think just one of us answer each question at this point.
Would you consider selling? Oh, sorry. Would you consider selling Salah money for extra funds?
Can I answer that one? No.
Not in your life.
Next.
I'd buy both. I'd double up.
I wouldn't buy both.
As in, I'd double up rather than sell Salah for money.
Bench boost in a single game week. Thoughts?
Why not?
Not for me.
It's against the odds.
If you're in a strong position, like some people were this week, and it paid off for them, fine. Why not?
There was a 27 points on my bench this week. You know, it could have been a great bet. It would have been better than my last 3 years of bench boost.
Why didn't you bench boost?
Because I just wasn't smart enough.
You were drunk in Barcelona and you didn't think about it, right?
Yeah, to be fair, I was just like, fuck this, I'm going to go out and drink.
Fair enough.
No, I was never going to bench boost outside of double game week. For me, it's a no. I like to wild card my second wild card into a bench boost, free hit the blank, triple captain the smaller double. It's just template with those chips, I think.
So I go ahead, Hibbo. Go ahead.
I'm playing the floor with like the bench boost in a double game week, and if I'm going to have as a baseline 2 points twice for the goalkeeper, or 4 points multiplied by 4, like you're looking at a baseline of 16 points.
Yeah.
That's basically how I'm playing my bench boost, and anything above that's kind of high ceiling. Those guys,
like good, yeah.
Those guys done well this week. It was a good week they played. I can't argue with it, but it wouldn't be for me. And see anybody that played their bench boost this week,
yeah,
I'm confident I'll catch him in the long grass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you probably needed to have Foster or someone like you probably needed Foster as your second bench, as your bench keeper to be able to adequately bench boost this week anyway.
Which was looking out in the penalty save, So that's variance swinging your way rather than the baseline, which is.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is I'd rather wildcard out of a bench boost team than into a bench boost team because I don't want to hold a bench boost team for a long period of time.
That is true. It's quite. I think bench boost did fuck me a few years in a row, where, as in, like you just keep waiting, and you keep buying players, and like you're always waiting for the bench boost, and like some people bench boost game week 1, right? To avoid.
I've seen that done. I've seen that done. I've seen it pay off.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say though, Gabe, is during that time you're building your bench up potentially to be able to then bench boost. Now, are you missing out on other options to do that? Because you can, there's more than, as it's a horrible term, I always say it, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? And by having to make the transfers to get yourself to a position to have an adequate bench boost, how many transfers have you made during that, and potentially have you taken a hit or two to achieve that on the way into it when you're targeting it? So I think I prefer to wildcard and then I prefer to wildcard, cut the risk down and then bench boost and then gradually take players out.
But I wouldn't make the transfers at those kind of bottom of my team areas. You kind of like with
wouldn't you?
No, I think you can because you just don't worry about those. Just as long as you're going to get somewhat of a double game week. They don't all have to have a double game week. Some of them could have a double game week, and one could have a good matchup. But you kind of almost prepare for that for the bench boost, in my opinion, with your first wild card, even if you wild card early, because you get some of the cheap players like Livramento that we found out that are going to be nailed, and those are the players that you're always going to have in the bench on a bench boost. Everyone should have Livramento, right, if they got him early, and everybody should have Foster, right, because he's a playing 4.0. So there are only 2 other players left for your bench boost, and you can figure those out.
But I think one of the negatives that's often given about, like, say, the bench boost, like, say what you're talking about, Gabe, where like you basically twin your wildcard with your bench boost, and people will say a negative is that you tie up kind of value that you're going to bench going forward. But people made this point to me in kind of Twitter over the past week, and I says, well, like at the minute I'm benching money every week, and it's not an issue because I think the flexibility's kind of let me kind of roll with the punches, and I don't necessarily have to make a transfer every week. I can bank a transfer because I've maybe got Mbemo I can bring off the bench. Whereas I think it's a weird kind of season where like everybody's kind of got a strong bench, and then people were making the point as, oh, I can drop down to an uber cheap bench, and I'm thinking, well, we can't have uber cheap benches if we have Reece James and Chilwell, because we need to have kind of bench options to cover those guys. So I don't agree with this season, but normally I would agree with your point that I would prefer the wildcard to the bench boost.
Yeah, Harry, it did. It also got us a dislike. Whenever I'm on stream, some motherfucker live dislikes me.
It's you, innit? There's someone hates you. Someone's commented. I think I saw a comment on the channel one week as well, which was rather
John
rude.
Chappelle.
John, if you're the one who fucking dislikes, I will find you and I will hunt you down.
It's trigger list.
No, Nick followed me. He told me he
I know.
unfollowed me because basically he was sick of Bakar, and like I think Bakar since blocked him. But I retweeted Bakar, and he'd unfollowed Bakar, and he then, for anyone who watched the episode a few weeks ago when I was a bit upset that Nick unfollowed me, he said he didn't even realize. So I'll take him at his word.
No, he knows he unfollowed you.
I know he knows,
He
but it
knows.
was because of Hub.
It's your dad. Your dad.
Before we go, did you answer this question from Sandra? Take out Mount over Havertz this week.
Mount doesn't have any teeth. He got all his
I don't know
teeth
what
taken
the
out.
relevance of that one is, but
But that's why he's injured, because he got all his wisdom teeth taken out. So
I thought that was Christensen, or they've all got teeth problems at Chelsea.
No, there was that video of Mount on painkillers, and he was like very loving.
he was out of it.
Does it look like Frankenstein with
But
a
if you're
square mouth after having his wisdom teeth took out?
Havertz could lose his spot, right? And Mount is pretty nailed for given his form.
On more important matters, guys, do smash that like button, please,
Yeah.
to counteract the arsehole who disliked. But
and the last one is, do I sell Tony and Mr. Woodworkio after Newcastle?
I'm selling one of them before Newcastle, I think.
I would probably sell one No, I think I'd probably hold them. If I had them, I'd hold them for this week, and then I'd get rid of them. That would be me.
Agreed.
Here, last. This isn't a question. This is just like, just get the hearts out here for this year because this is just fucking lovely stuff. Like, thanks for all your videos this season. Hearing from top managers and all your stats have really helped. That's just beautiful.
What's the guy that I forgot his name? I was going to write it down.
You don't know what to do.
I was quite emotional. We had a most wonderful poem written about that hall, didn't we? Was it Seraph? Was it Seraph?
Yeah, FPL
Seraph.
FPL Seraph. Well, I mean, you know, it nearly brought a little tear to my eye. And it's not very often that anything remotely might get me to start thinking like that. So, check it out on Twitter if you've not seen it. I'm not going to read it out because I think I'd probably burst into tears. But no, it's so nice that we're all on the same show, boys. I think it's been too long and we must try and do this more often.
The last time was August in the pre-season when all four of us were together. I think it's been long overdue. It's as good as any of the guests we've ever had, I think, having all of us together.
Yeah, amazing. No, it's been fabulous. Should we get out of here then?
We'll let you get to
guys, I mean, thank you for the chaos that has just been the last 2 hours and 5 minutes.
It was good, chat.
It's been wonderful. It's been really good. And I also think there's been some really fabulous insight into the FPL. And just, I think we've seen a lot of character as well. A lot of our characters have come out tonight. I think it's been really, this morning, I should say, for me. It's been really wonderful to see. And it's great to see all the great haulers, but they haven't hit the like button anywhere near enough, have they?
No, they have though now. Like
have they?
I've just seen in 5 minutes it's gone up by 1/3, like 33%.
Oh, that's all right. Then it'll be fine. So we don't need to say smash like or get out now anymore. But what we do
I've had
need
it on there for a while.
For the podcasters, we need to say leave a 5-star Apple review, right?
We do. Thank you, anyone listening on pod. If you've made it this far after all this shit,
you probably cut it off. By now.
Should we leave by reading the poem? Should I have it up?
Just read it. Fuck it.
We have to read it.
Yeah, all right. Let's leave it. Leave it. You can finish the show. We're going to say smash like or get out. Well, you're probably going to get out anyway now. Also, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the bell. We are Net That Hall. Over to the philosopher who is going to read us out the poem about Net That Hall.
This is from FPL Seraph at FPL_Seraph. Net that Hall in the sea of fantasy. You got Mariner, Nima, Gabe, and Hibbo giving it their all, the powerful Quattro. With matchups, metrics, expert opinions, follow them for your mini-league dominion. In a pickle any time of the week, all you got to do is tag them and tweet. Quick to respond, interact, and elevate. The only thing you gonna do them is appreciate. That's really hard to say. They gonna help you climb rank with what you got in the bank. You gonna get a real kick as your team starts to click. Less red, more green, your air's gonna be. So what you waiting for? You heard it all. Subscribe, YouTube, Twitter, turn notifications on.
Thank you, Seraph.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Lovely. All the best, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. If this bloody...
You don't...